The imperial palace is filled with silence, although it is not empty at all. In the Leonia Empire, right in the middle of the night, a farewell ceremony is taking place, at which there are not many people. A monk stands in front of a coffin over which hangs a portrait of a beautiful girl, and he says that there is nothing more heartbreaking than a night filled with sorrow. The ceremony is being held for Princess Aristella Leonharp, who disappeared from the imperial palace 6 months ago, leaving everyone shocked because her body was never found. It was decided to bury the coffin empty. Many in the hall acted as if they wanted to leave, some even yawned, declaring that what was happening was boring. Even though it was a farewell ceremony, no one mourned Aristella. Even her own brother, the emperor himself, hoped that what was happening would end quickly. He came just like that. No one knows that the princess watched her own funeral. For her, what was happening was expected, but she did not think that the ceremony would be so insignificant. In one place sits a fox, which only one boy noticed. This is the new body of the lady. No one would believe that she turned into an animal. It's strange. It all started when the lady showed strength in her childhood. In the past, the Empire of Leonia was blessed, as was the princess herself. A banquet was being prepared, which was designated as special. The little girl, as usual, could not calm down and ran from side to side. She tried to behave well, but again she did not listen to anyone. Aristella sees what a banquet in the imperial palace looks like. People around gasp when they see her. They don't understand how a beauty can be so cute and stylish. Many people came to see the girl being the protagonist of The Righteous Man is not so bad. At that moment, the lady was very excited about her first banquet. The princess accidentally touches the sculpture. It begins to stagger. Everyone around screams in horror, asking the lady to run away. But she does not have time. A huge ice floe begins to fall on her. It's strange, but the heroine is alive. Whispers of doubt can be heard around someone saved the lady, all with the help of magic. Aristella soon realized that it was the power inside her body that was able to protect herself. On that day, everyone saw with their own eyes that the princess had received all possible blessings from birth and was a blessing to the lands on which the empire was located. Everyone thought that the girl was a miracle that came from heaven, a phenomenon that would never happen again. Aristella smiles at her subordinates, promising that anyone who threatens Leonia will be crushed at her hands, not allowed to ruin everything. The heroine's path was filled with abundance and happiness. Everyone says that she is the genius of the century. The lady's mother constantly joked that this is not true, because the little one still makes mistakes in her studies. The blonde was so proud of herself that she couldn't sleep. She was a little afraid of her own strength, still hoping that she would become a great magician in the future. Then everyone would praise her. The beauty looked at the ceiling when suddenly a strange magic circle appeared above her. Her body rose into the air, and a multitude of different notes appeared around her, but it was not clear what was in them. A wave of memories came over Aristella. Her past life flashed before her eyes. Death was very sudden. Although the days were ordinary, it became clear that the beauty was the main character of the book she was reading. Previously, life seemed great, but memories revealed one frightening fact. If further events do not change, Leonharp will be cursed at the age of 18. She will suffer, people around her will hate her, and then death awaits her. In the book, Aristella was cursed at the age of 18. The point was that no one would ever love her. Even the imperial family did not know about this, so they had to conduct a personal investigation. After conducting research, the maiden realized that she was not the first in the family to be cursed. Perhaps someone cursed the princess when it became clear that she had a chance to become a great magician. The woman refused to accept the fate that the novel had predicted for her. But as if laughing, the curse took her life, and the lady met a lonely and miserable death that she did not deserve. At the moment when the pain took its toll, and everything was supposed to end, the eyes opened again. The lady turned out to be alive. After that, she made a different decision. No matter how hard Aristella tried, she would only receive hatred in return. In her first life, her only desire was to be loved and happy. Power, as is well known, and wealth no longer meant anything to her. But in her second life, the heroine decided that it was best to give up this desire. By giving up love, the girl could gain power, and whatever she wanted, no one would love her. But no one would oppose her either. Leonharp became the one everyone in the castle avoided, for everyone around the lady became the culprit of their every problem. The woman was considered arrogant and haughty, although she simply stopped indulging the desires of others. Despite the hatred of others, Aristella became the best magician of the empire one day. While she was living an ordinary life of the cursed, her parents suddenly died. Almost immediately, secret information surfaced that dark magicians were involved in the incident. They wanted to gain control over the entire empire. The beauty did not want to be loved, but she still loved others. She wanted revenge. However, it is difficult to track down enemies. The woman decided to look for them, disguised as a fox. One day, the beauty turned into her and followed the dark magician, who could be involved in everything. She almost found herself on the threshold of death. When she opened her eyes, she realized that she was trapped in the form of a fox. She could not turn back into a human. She did not understand what caused it. For 6 months, the baby tried to regain her princess form, but the capabilities of the fox body are very limited. Not everything is under her control. Oddly enough, the long absence turned into news of death. Leonharp heard about the ceremony and decided to participate, albeit in the guise in which she was stuck. The beauty was not prepared for the scene that appeared before her. She needed to find a way to return to human form. There was no time to be sad in memory of her parents. She wanted to catch the black magicians. In order to protect the empire, the princess hid the real cause of their deaths. Meanwhile, she secretly collected information about dark magic, but for the fox, continuing the matter is impossible. As time passed, the lady began to lose hope, but she remembered that there was a person who could help her, namely, her fiancé, the Grand Duke Henricion Kanan Adelasia. The Grand Duchy has for generations nurtured people versed in practical magic and may have records of strange situations, such as transformation. The woman wants to find information in the duchy. The only problem is that Henricion does not recognize the girl in the form in which she was left. The girl remembers that the boy as a child really liked cute animals. She can pretend to be a lost fox, and then explain how and what happened so that he understands everything. The young man will be furious when he finds out the whole truth. The whole plan will collapse if he shows up at all. The animal hopes that the man will still come, otherwise it will be bad. Later, it becomes clear that the hero seems to hate the princess so much that he didn't even show up at the funeral. She already thought that this was the end, but when leaving the hall, she bumps into the duke. Henricion walks up to the coffin, looking thoughtfully, trying to understand what the lady should do. She was not one of those who could die so easily. The little girl is calling for a friend. Is this a hallucination? The young man turns around and sees a little fox under his feet. She smiles, hoping that her voice was understood. He must know who is in front of him, his ex-girlfriend. The brunette remembers his childhood once he met a fox, but she disappeared. He can't believe that it's her again, but it seems that this is exactly how it is. It's hard to believe. The hero, calmly but incredulously, says that it cannot be the same animal, but inside, Aristella begins to get angry and will have no choice. The little girl rubs herself against his leg, trying to seem cute. She really wants to be taken home, and when the man points out that he can keep her, she gets angry again, unable to control herself. Kanan asks if they are trying to charm him. Aristella freezes her eyes, widening in surprise. She does not quite understand how he came to this conclusion, because it seems strange. Bending down, the young man lifts the fox into his arms. He holds her carefully, promising that he will take her with him. The princess does not know why he had to agree so easily, although she herself wanted it. Nobody knows. But at the moment when the heroine disappeared, the duke dropped all his affairs and ordered to examine the places where the heroine could have disappeared. He was interested in what potential this all had. 6 long months passed without any trace being found. And suddenly, the castle decided to hold a funeral. And without finding out what had happened to the lady, they buried an empty coffin. The fox opens her eyes. A voice calls her calmly, announcing that they are already there. She herself did not notice how she fell asleep, lifting her by the scruff of the neck. The hero nods towards the bathroom. The animal is incredibly dirty because she spent all her time outside. I want to scream for a maid, but Adelasia will bathe the new pet herself. At night, the heroine falls asleep. She feels like she is on something soft for a moment. It seems that she has returned to her body. Opening her eyes, She sees the Duke next to her. The face shows defeat because the young man is so serene. However, one cannot help but be glad that she is in a warm place where everything is good. It is very pleasant to be clean. However, despite the benefits, the beauty will no longer be disgraced, as the day before the young man behaved as if in front of him was not the greatest princess, but a dirty rag. The girl touches her cheek with her paw. She wants to take revenge. But then the hero gets up, asking what he felt on his face. The fox gets angry. He is very sensitive. The animal leans back on the pillow. She pretends to be asleep so that no one suspects her Zion is caring. He carefully pulls the blanket up. You can get sick. After this, the door closes. It seems to him that it is time to go about his business. It becomes clear that nothing more will follow. This can be considered a sincere pleasure. Leaning back on the bed, the beauty exhales calmly. Apparently, there was no need to be nervous at all. She missed the sensations. The blanket was incredibly soft like a cloud. The baby falls asleep again. Voices are heard through her sleep. Waking up, she sees several maids. The Duke does not like animals. He gets especially angry when he sees foxes. The princess was overcome with surprise. This was impossible. Henricion adored animals. Foxes were his favorites. He never took part in hunting them, because he could not afford it. The girl remembers yesterday. She is sure that the young man was happy to see her, which is why he decided to take her to the estate so quickly. The maids think that his lordship will be angry if he sees Aristella. Suddenly, they say that they will have to get rid of the animal. The woman wants to ask Zion, first, is she comfortable being in the bedroom? If the princess is thrown out, she will be forced to wander the streets again. The plan to read books about magic will be ruined. Everything will be ruined, everything that she hoped for. One of the maids is ready to go to the butler, while the others look after the animal. The man will be able to choose what they will do next, because he has been working in the estate for several years. The fox doesn't understand why they're looking at her so closely. The people gathered start to compliment her. Her fur is spotless. They've never seen such charming little animals. The princess remembers the day when little Zion first saw her. He was almost immediately captivated by the fox form, saying that he would never let go. They want to stroke the girl. There is no other way. The lady would like to say that they should not touch her. However, nothing comes of it. The hand touches, but the sensations are pleasant strange. When the heroine was touched by strangers, for some reason, she remembered the two dearest people in her life. Her father, who could never get enough of his daughter, and of course, my mother, who always tried to be there to support me, no matter what happened, remaining the closest person. The fox doesn't know if her parents would have been able to recognize her in her new form if they had survived. She's bored, lost in her thoughts, and doesn't even notice that the maid has picked her up. The beauty is taken in by the Grand Duke, who just comes in. He has a cold look. The little girl thinks that they will not throw her out, but then he declares that the fox will stay in the estate. This is wonderful. Finally, life will change. She doesn't even notice how she climbs onto her face. The green-eyed man looks at her, complimenting her. You're so naughty, but with a terrible character. The young man nevertheless softens. The animal is very dear to him. Therefore, no one ever has the right to ignore her. She will be able to find a way to become human. Henricion's closest assistant, Rowan, was not thrilled. He was skeptical about raising a fox on the estate. It was better not to take random specimens from the street. His gaze turns to his hand. There are many bite marks on it. The man becomes even more against it, if you want. I can find you a better animal. Aristella may have an owner, and she may have a terrible character, but nothing can be done because she was taken home. You can't give the baby into other hands. It's not clear how they will treat her. Of course, animals can create problems, but I would like her to eat well and grow. He tries to touch the muzzle, and in response gets bitten. Rowan yelps in surprise, asking if the boy is okay. He shrugs. She's just glad I care about her so much. Don't worry. In the past, someone took his beloved fox, but she returned to him herself, so she will definitely be with him. Surprise in his eyes. It is hard to believe that he still thinks about that incident. The animal he says was taken from him is Princess Aristella. Zion didn't know about the transformation ability. It seemed like those feelings were temporary, but he was sincere. The assistant distracts the Duke. He still has something to ask about traces of dark magic were discovered. Leonharp was waiting for this. Now she will have the opportunity to get enough information. The little girl plans to follow the assistant to get to the details, which of course will be difficult, because he doesn't like the new inhabitant of the estate. A girl with bright hair, Anessa, enters the room. She talks about additional clues, sorting and handing over the material. The thought comes to mind that you need to follow her. The door opens, the little girl runs down the hallway. She is afraid that she will be hated again. This has become her constant routine. The princess doesn't want to be treated badly, but the clues about the dark magicians are much more important. She can't miss the opportunity to find those who killed her parents. Anessa turns around. The beauty gasps, picking up the animal in her arms. She is even cuter up close. Her fur is perfect, leaving it in her arms. The woman suggests going to eat. It's just time for lunch. The fox can't believe her eyes. There's a lot of different food on the table. She pounces as if she was starving, and finally she eats her fill, something that hasn't happened for a long time. Initially, it was necessary to look for clues, but the baby was distracted by food. The investigation requires energy. The maids attract attention. They say that Zion finished his meal. They are all surprised that he did not complain. The woman understands that this is strange. It seemed to her that the guy always ate well, although still less than the princess. She is quite an eater, although this time she ate her fill. The butler is as delighted as everyone else, not believing that his lordship ate everything they gave him, all thanks to the fox. He asks if a name has been chosen. Adelasia chuckles and agrees he can't always address her in a simple way. He looks at her, asking out loud what would be the best name to choose. The maid intervenes. She heard somewhere that animals' personalities change depending on the name they choose. It's hard to believe, but many say so. You have to be careful. The Grand Duke smiles, which brings all the servants into a happy moment. He was never known for being in a good mood, all thanks to the new inhabitant of the estate. The baby already has a bad character. The young man approaches the matter thoroughly. He thought about the name Biggie, but it is completely unsuitable. The body size is too small. The green-eyed man offers his own option. The animal will be called Lala. Something inside him turns over, and horror appears on his face because it seems the man has realized who is in front of him. Lala is a nickname that only family members, the closest people, could call the girl, because it was her mother who came up with it. The heroine remembers her childhood. The only exception to the rule was Adelasia. She hopes that this is all just a coincidence. The animal is picked up in arms. It doesn't look like you like the name. I'll choose another one. The young man calmly asks why Aristella is in the estate, and why she is in such a state. She is no longer a princess. The anger is stronger. The guy has guessed everything. This puts him in an awkward position. The fox did the wrong thing. She sneaked into the castle, doing it cowardly, as if it seemed that no one would guess anything. The words were as if it was an accusation. It seemed that the reputation of the greatest magician of the empire was already in the past. Even the identity and the girl could not hide that she could at least try. But as it was too easy a task. The blonde squints. Everything inside is crumbling. Her plan wasn't perfect, but even so, there were hopes inside that were simply crushed. The truth revealed too quickly. Aristella could forget about what happened a long time ago. So it is logical that she was surprised when one day the boy told his friend that he wanted the fox that he saw in the garden. Turning away, the blonde snorted, noticing that the familiar one would never be able to cope with her. At that moment, enlightenment descended upon him. The golden eyes of the princess and the animal were identical. The girl continued to stubbornly hide her appearance, although naively thinking that the duke knew nothing, judging by the appearance in which she arrived at the estate. She wanted to find out what the gentleman knew. The little girl was probably only looking for information about dark magic, its origins, and more. The remains were found on the territory of Frutu, where the princess's tracks led. It's useless to ask questions, although at first the hero tries. He's curious whether magic made Aristella turn. You always keep everything a secret. Since the girl herself came to the Grand Duchy, the young man will not leave it alone. He looks arrogantly, showing his toughness. Rowan enters the room. The little girl lights up with happiness. She didn't think she would be happy to see this man. He talks about urgent matter, namely a meeting with the Marquis of Haveling. The young master and guardian Sir Patrick arrived. The brunette nods. He doesn't like the upcoming meeting, but he will have to resign himself and go out to them. The master of the family, Leighton Haveling, appears before the man. This is Henricion's nephew, the son from his half-brother's marriage to the Marchioness Olivia. The boy's parents died in an incident about a year ago, and the young man was left the only heir. He was not even 15 years old, so a guardian was needed. Sir Patrick decided it would be better to come with him. The fox knows the story. 6 months ago, the young man was already punished for bullying Leighton. The princess doesn't understand how this man stays close to the boy. It's considered wrong. Zion doesn't trust the beauty. She'll need another ally to keep the heir safe. Miss Fox heads towards Anessa, who seems happy to see her. It is obvious that Patrick wants to use the incident to keep Mr. Leighton. The little girl doesn't quite understand what's going on as the conversation continues. It's not clear why the Duke should be held responsible for what the princess did if she hadn't broken his leg out of boredom. The young gentleman would have been taken away long ago. 6 months ago, the blonde tested the boy's magical power. As soon as she touched him, the magic became completely unstable and wavered. The beauty is an experienced magician, so she immediately understood what the whole problem was. It was all because of Patrick, who constantly repeated that Havling could not disgrace his family. Then the woman expressed her dissatisfaction. She didn't like the way the future head of the family was being treated. Smiling slyly, the old man refuted, "I serve him with all possible sincerity. Such comments are beyond the pale." The man was not afraid of warnings, so he had to use the power that the girl had at her disposal. Instead of repenting, false rumors were spread. The little girl hurries forward, along the corridor. She runs into a huge room, in time the magical laboratory of the Grand Duke Adelasia. As a child, she often created magical objects, and then secretly hid them. She was afraid that they would all be taken away, because they carried some danger due to the concentrated power. So she scattered all her creations in every corner of the laboratory. The conversation continues in the hall. Naturally, the future marquise must be raised by a member of the Havling family. Adelasia's intervention will hardly be regarded as simple concern on the part of relatives. Green Eyes is unhappy every time he tries to talk. The same excuses are used every day. Leighton is not allowed to provide enough help. Magical talent is valuable and rare. Systematic training could help the family become even stronger. But the old man is against it, because the family has never been famous for its wizards, only for its swordmasters. The gaze turns to the boy. His body is completely unsuitable for becoming a knight. He was born with magical talent like his father, but he is clearly lacking in physical strength. There are 2 paths left he must choose. Accept the opinion of the Havling family and retreat, or take Leighton by force and send him to the Magic Academy. Thinking about the future, the Duke sees the second option as the best. In a calm voice, the young man clarifies whether Patrick is going to change his mind. He would say that it is the Duke who is obliged to completely change his point of view. The door opens. It can't be. But at that very moment, the fox comes in. She lifts her head up, calmly follows the Sir in the Empire. It is believed that if a person has a good reputation, animals follow him. The baby is sitting on her lap. Her head is being stroked more insistently than it should be, making her want to run away. But the plan is only just beginning to come into action. The man doesn't understand where the fox came from. They explain to him that she now lives in the estate. Patrick chuckles. He can't help but notice the situation. It is impossible to believe that a reputation better than that of the Grand Duke Aristella wants to ask what she is doing at all with just one look that she is trying for the good of others. The girl leaves a mark on her neck. If Patrick doesn't touch the boy, everything will remain as is. But if he dares to hit, the reaction will be very serious and won't take long to come. The princess climbs onto her master's lap. She is considered impudent, which is why she growls even more. Patrick remains silent, but understands that she is very similar to her master. The man stands up and says that it is time to leave. They answer that they will come back to this stopping near the exit. The hero repeats his intentions again. If the Grand Duke is going to use his authority, they will immediately go to the Imperial Palace. The princess finds it funny. There is no need to pretend that her family will protect Patrick and his choice. The child is about to leave. The fox runs up to him, stopping him. Leonharp swears by her name as a princess that if the young man needs help, she will definitely listen to any request. The little girl deftly left an identical mark on the boy's ankle. All that remains is to wait and hope that everything works out as it should, without any unnecessary complications. Sophia Havling is the person with the most power in the family. She is removed from all major decisions. She has a cold personality. She wants to hide her feelings, so she is careful with her only grandson. The woman is never around, but she will definitely do something if she notices Patrick's inappropriate behavior. He will be forced to pay for everything for all the beatings. The beauty notices that she feels a little strange. The Duke suddenly grabs her by the scruff of the neck, lifting her into the air. She begins to kick, trying to break free. The man asks a logical question. The object that was attached to the departing Patrick seemed familiar. He raises an eyebrow. Could it be from a magic laboratory? The beauty is given the opportunity to tell the whole truth. She nods. Zion guesses about the purpose. There is no need to even explain. The old man will not be able to touch the boy with a finger. The brunette remains silent until he reveals his true feelings. He is actually disappointed with the beauty's behavior, but also believes in the best. At the estate, Patrick as usual blames Leighton, noting that he should be punished, that he will be beaten again, and that he wants someone to help him to protect him from this horror. Suddenly, as soon as the hand rises into the air, the body closes a magical barrier. The man is thrown back. This angers him even more. Are you really going to answer me with such a cheap trick? The second time, the man reaches out to the boy, who tries to explain that he did nothing, but the same thing happens again. He must make sure that the young man will not do such stupid things. Madame enters the room, asking what all this is about. She looks angrily. Someone dared to raise a hand against her grandson, the future head of the Marquis family. This is the wrong approach. He should never do this. Patrick tries to justify himself. He points at the boy, stating that Leighton was upset about something, since he decided to take out his anger on others. He asks his grandmother to believe him, while Patrick is still talking nonsense. The woman doesn't regret listening any longer. The magical barrier reacts only in one case, when someone tries to harm the owner. The lady is to blame for everything. She shouldn't have distanced herself so much. Luckily, Sophia saved her century. She threw Patrick out a letter, arrived to the duchy the very next day after everything happened. The woman wrote that she was able to understand her mistake only thanks to the gentleman. The man was found guilty of ill treatment and then expelled from the family. Leighton was enrolled in a magical academy. Finally, the boy will do what he loves, gradually improve his skills in magic no matter what happens next. He will become a wonderful head of the family. Haveling is grateful to her wise uncle for helping her. The seal item was originally created for Zion, and the princess is glad that everything worked out. The little girl looks at her friend. She hopes that he will change his mind. He needs to show his emotions, otherwise it will mean that he decided to throw out Aristella. The green-eyed man already understands everything. The lady decided to boast that everything went well. She hints at her merits. He agrees you tried your best. I will not ask unnecessary questions. His lordship asks the lady to think about what she will do. An assistant enters the room. A report on the results of the search for the princess has arrived. The zone has been expanded to some foreign countries exactly as requested. The little girl is distracted from washing her paw. She doesn't understand whether Zion was really looking for her. Even the imperial family gave up leaving the girl to her fate. Taking the papers, the young man thanks Rowena. The work has been colossal, but it's worth finishing the job because the young man was right when he advised it. The green-haired man shrugs. Maybe he shouldn't have said anything. The master promised that he wouldn't stop until he found Aristella. I'm stopping the search for no reason. The fox smiles, even though the brunette tries to hide his feelings. But it's true, he tried to look for her, throwing his strength and resources into it. But now there's no need to dodge, because the truth has come out. The guys have known each other since childhood. It's strange to understand this, but after so many years, the young man has not changed deep down in his soul. The heroine is incredibly happy to understand this. The animal is asked to stop making the face he is showing, and to stop behaving like that. However, she refuses. She thought that no one was looking for her. Everyone had forgotten about her. Adelasia was Leon Harp's best friend, but she always thought that their relationship only existed because of her status as a princess. After one incident, everything between them changed. The lady would never have thought that a man would conduct a search. She wants to sincerely thank him, because it matters at the moment when her hands were dropping, it could help. The brunette grins. It was obvious that he would go after the princess. He jokes that she not only has the appearance of a fox, but also intelligence. The little one reacts aggressively. You can't joke with her." Turning away, the little animal snorted demonstratively. Of course, she was fascinated by the fact that the one from whom she least expected it was trying to find her, but that was no longer the most important thing on the agenda. Aristella looks at the young man's face. He is handsome, the brunette thinks. If you remember, there was another family that was very persistently looking for Leonharp, spending a lot of money on it. We are talking about Count Arzudi. The Duke notes that he was looking more persistently, but no one is listening to him anymore. The woman does not understand why her personality has aroused the interest of someone from the outside. The family that my friend told me about is famous for its devotion and loyalty to the emperor and his family. But they never had any contact with the princess, so there is only one conclusion. They are dark magicians. Magic is common among the nobility, especially recently. Rowan enters the room, someone follows him. The fox has never seen this person. The Duke's assistant introduces the animal trainer, placing a special leash on the table that was ordered for maximum convenience when training the baby. It is clear that the animal is being cared for. However, there are already so many scars on her hands, and next time they risk ending up right on her face. The Duke nods. She is wild. I agree, it is better to tame her. I wanted to start being indignant about the fact that they were in cahoots, but then the hero declared that he was able to handle it on his own. It was not a problem, he would become the best trainer. This left Rowena perplexed. The man is released. He needs to make sure that the little girl obeys. Then the young man will believe that there is no point in calling anyone. Adelasia holds out her hand, asking to give him a paw on command. The heroine doesn't consider herself a puppy. To meet all the desired criteria, they use a secret weapon on her. If you obey, there will be a special menu for dinner. The fox's paw is squeezed, then asked again to do what is expected. And she obeys because she believes that food is much more important than the animal's dignity at this moment. Rowena is asked if he sees the animal obeying him in the future. At this rate, they won't have any problems. Soon she will become a real pet. This prospect doesn't make her happy. The girl remembered the good old days when she had set the task, noting in advance that it was not worth even starting if the boy did not plan to continue to the bitter end. At that time, Zion was smaller and therefore much weaker. It was difficult to defeat the princess by willpower alone, but a year later, he finally surpassed himself and was able to catch up with Aristella. The girl showed him a miracle, lifting him into the air with the help of magic. She said that it was like a gift for the whole year of hard work towards the goal. The past was good. The princess is sad to realize that everything went completely in the wrong direction. She does not understand how, being a royal person, she is obliged to give a paw on command. All the worries have been resolved, and now the fox has every right to remain in the Duke's estate and not worry about the attention of others, which has always been attracted only to her. The maids often noticed that the beauty was in a good mood when she behaved like this, proudly raising her head, showing how graceful she could be. The words that her gait was cute, instead of a pleasant feeling, brought only disappointment. Aristella had studied etiquette from an early age. Even her steps were filled with nobility. Sometimes it's nice to feel the kindness of people with whom the girl had no previous contact. When she was in the castle, looking at her reflection, the little girl is convinced that she is beautiful even in the form of a fox. The Duke distracts her from her contemplation, noticing that she has settled down in the passage. In response, only displeasure. I am the official fox of the House of Adelasia. I am where I want to be. Leighton decided to visit his uncle before entering the academy. Aristella is invited to meet him. She is of course happy to check if he is okay. The young gentleman, almost immediately upon arrival, grabs the fluffy one in his arms. He holds her. Everything is different from last time. There is a feeling that he has become a little taller, a smile on his face. The boy wanted to say that he was grateful for the help. He realized that the fox had helped him. She should have done it much earlier, but still. Leighton continues to hug the baby, but she is already trying to break free because she can't breathe. He abruptly asks the question, "Can I take her with me to the Magic Academy?" Students often bring their pets. This is a completely normal practice. The beauty wants to object. Adelasia cannot give the princess away, just like that. Coming closer, he takes her to himself. First, his nephew needs to rest a little. The road was quite difficult. The woman hasn't yet reached the books about magic in the estate, so she hopes that they won't give her away. Still, there is something to worry about, because Zion is very attached to the boy. He almost never refuses him. It's scary to think that there won't even be anything to do at the academy. Tomorrow, the boy goes to school. He is a little afraid, but sincerely wants to live up to his uncle's expectations, to show himself from the best side. He is very similar to his parents. Adelasia knows that at the academy, Havling will gain a lot of new experience. His talent will become even more distinct. A gift is handed over to him, a whole stack of thick books. All the materials he received will be useful in studying something new and unknown. The young man sincerely thanks him and is happy that his uncle cares about him. You need to understand and, most importantly, not forget that magic can give power that no one else will have. The brunette says that the fox will not go to the academy, alas. Leighton begins to beg, promising that the fluffy one will not run away anywhere, because they will watch her. The Duke is unwavering, but it is interesting why they continue to call the princess that. The animal looks like a fluffy snowman. It obeys the boy, which means that she will grow up to be someone worthy. He asks again, "Please let me?" The man asks if his nephew can handle it, because it's a responsibility. A girl is hiccuping in the room. Apparently someone is thinking about her. Probably Leighton, yeah. All the following days, the boy constantly followed the heroine, calling her a stupid nickname. She should not react when she is called that, but it does not work. The little girl loses her temper, and using the dirt on her paws and paint, she draws the word no. She hopes that Zion will read and understand this message. She doesn't want any omissions. The girl suddenly opens her eyes, looks around, and without noticing it, she fell asleep, which of course made her feel lost. She never waited for the Duke. The beauty is terrified to realize that the young man did not notice the ugliness that she carefully drew. Suddenly, she will still be sent to the academy, disrupting her plans for the future. Turning around, Aristella calms down. A familiar person is sitting in front of her. He just sat and watched, didn't even wake her up. He asks her to get ready. She needs to meet with Leighton. Fox regrets it. It would have been better not to react to the boy's words. There are too many eyes at the academy to conduct a personal investigation. There is no choice. She will have to find a way to escape along the way. The Marquise meets the fluffy one, even in the morning. She looks perfect. The beauty wants to run away. She can't let anyone get attached to her. Otherwise, her conscience will not allow her to do what she has planned. Leighton is given to understand that the baby has a different name, but he, having declared that she likes everything, made the gentleman believe the brunette takes the fox. "I have prepared for you the gift we talked about." The girl tries to escape and bites because she doesn't want to be given away. But then the butler brings a puppy. He's smart and kind, so he'll be useful. The Marquis sincerely thanks her. He hugs the animal. Aristella breathes a sigh of relief. They don't give her away. This can be considered a good sign because the investigation will continue. Surely the young man is conscious enough to take care of the puppy. They can become good friends. The woman notices that her words are understood. This is even more surprising. The Duke closes the fox's eyes, asking that they not stare at each other unless she has a desire to go to a strange place, remaining completely alone. The lady cannot refuse the opportunity. She needs to verify the truth. At the next meeting, the magician will understand how hard Adelasia tried. He will wait for them to write to him if they need anything. The boy nods to the fluffy one. They will see each other again very soon. The next time the lady returns to human form, they will fight like magicians because the progress in the academy will be strong. Before the meeting, the man explained to his nephew why he could not give up the animal. He expressed his true feelings, saying that she was his first, very dear. The young man may not understand, but the first time is very important. Leighton looks at the dog. He thinks that he seems to understand his uncle, what he is thinking about now. He has his first pet, a friend and part of the family. The beauty becomes a little sad that the boy has left. The Duke turns to Hara, but she does not react. He decides that another name should be used, such as Harara. The whole family comes up with lousy names leaning towards her ear. Adelasia notices that she can't call her Aristella. She can't want to, so horror is reflected on her face. Rowan approaches, realizing that the baby has been given a new name. The owner must name his pet himself. Fluffy is a good nickname, but Hara also sounds good. The maids are happy, thinking that the new name suits the little animal very well, and that is what they will call her in the future. His lordship takes care of the little girl as if she were his own child. although her reaction is strange. Anessa informs that if suddenly the Duke is not around, Hera can always go to her. So as not to be alone, she will definitely be taken care of, and everything will be done as it should be. They take the baby in their arms. Aristella doesn't know how to react. It's strange, but the new life turned out to be better than she thought. The princess in the past was not particularly loved by anyone. The new appearance, oddly enough, brought a lot of happiness people around, began to treat me completely differently, doing it right, and not as it could have been. Most importantly, the fox sensing that Zion doesn't hate her as much, the man turns to his subordinates, saying that everyone else should call her nothing other than Miss Fox. The boys also want to use the name, lowering his voice. The master repeats the order. This is his pet. Other nicknames are prohibited. The girl was not against it, so she is surprised by his displeasure. The name contains a secret that only Henricion knows about. In the past, he gave the baby a nickname, a secret one which belonged only to him. Aristella was not only the first fox, but also the first friend. He no longer communicated with anyone, preferring the peace and quiet that he chose himself. The next day comes. It brings with it anxiety. The little girl does not understand why everyone around is busy. Time flies quickly. Someone says that the foundation day has almost arrived. The princess gasps in surprise. She can't believe she forgot about such an event, because the founding day is the most important holiday of the empire, especially considering that it will be an anniversary. The imperial family prepares on a grand scale throughout the year, an occasion to celebrate Leonias's boundless glory. The Grand Duke Adelasia was always present at the festival. Since he had quite a strong influence, even in comparison with the ruling family, he was the only important guest. The girl quickly puts two and two together, and it turns out that Henricion will go to the banquet. He is one of the greatest magicians in the population, and will definitely not miss the Empire's founding festival. The princess heads to the office just where Rowan is leading a conversation on this topic, raising the fact that it is necessary to be present. The fox is going to use his chance. The gentleman nods. He will come to the event. All that remains is to entrust the assistant with all the preparations. The pet jumps onto the table. He exclaims, "This wretch is climbing onto your table again." The blonde looks straight into his eyes. She hopes that she will be understood calmly, even if he behaves like this. He assumes that Aristella wants to go with him. Then she begins to wag her tail. The brunette refuses. He calmly explains that he cannot be present in the palace. He will never bring an animal to an important event. Attempts to persuade him are unsuccessful. The girl has a reason. She doesn't just want to be there, even though she hasn't had any contact with Duke Arzuti. They've been looking for her for the last 6 months. If the guesses are correct, they could be dark magicians and will cause a commotion right at the festival. The woman thinks that she has one last chance to meet her last relative. His Majesty, the Emperor. Zion can refuse as much as he wants, but they will follow him at any cost. The Duke's intuition did not fail him. The fox pursued and bothered him around the clock. She was present wherever he was trying to change his mind. Aristella was getting tired of it. No matter what she came up with, she still wouldn't be at the event. This decision was up to the Duke. He was stubborn. The little girl was starting to lose hope. The decision has been made. It's time to change tactics. The animal jumps into Zion's lap. She has no choice but to behave politely and nicely. As a child, the Duke loved the fox form. The little girl wants to be loved again, but this cannot be achieved if she behaves rudely, as always. Looking into the eyes, she begs. It is obvious what attempts have been made. The young man can't push the princess away. It's best to just not touch her. He clenches his hand into a fist, but doesn't hold on for long. He strokes the girl's head. Okay, do what you want. A drop of joy is born inside her. Finally, the girl will be able to allow herself to return to where she spent her entire life, to see her brother, to understand what is happening there. The brunette understands that the fox is not going to the event just to have fun. She has a grand reason. He wants to know the details so that there are no late surprises. The banquet is a good chance to find people who are connected with dark magic. Many will gather there despite their wishes. The fox cannot initiate the Duke until she is sure. The woman is sorry that they cannot communicate. Normally, she would like to calmly discuss other topics. She notices paper and a pen on the table. This could very well work. She thinks so. The young man has some kind of condition. There is mistrust in his eyes. The beauty is not sure that they will not ask something strange of her. She is waiting for what will be said. Grabbing the handle. The animal understands the Duke perfectly well. It doesn't require any ability, he has to guess. It's surprising that no one else has managed to cope with this. The young man suggests that they have some kind of signal of their own. This is his main condition. He snaps his fingers, forcing the beauty to pay attention. The brunette has already agreed to take her to the banquet. But it's not that simple. They will only go to the event if at least basic communication is established. The girl thinks it won't be difficult, but regrets her decision as soon as the man tells her about the right signal, namely to cry in any emergency. Never before had the princess allowed herself to cry in front of strangers. If the lady needed help, she would have to raise her paws up, turn her head and tail. There is anger on her face. It seems as if the Duke is trying to mock her. She will definitely hit him with her paw, so that he understands what his place is. Rowan comes in to hand over some documents he has already started preparing. On his lordship's face hangs an animal that has dug its claws into his hair. The girl initially wanted to just hit the young man, but because of the sharp creak of the door, she got scared and jumped on top of him. The gentleman calmly says that he will take Haru with him to the banquet. A few days pass. Everything is not as bad as the heroine expected. She looks quite fashionable. She has a beautiful bow. The best thing is that she stands out a lot. Aristella had not been home for 6 months in the castle, where she had lived her entire life, so she chose her things very carefully. She was always present at the celebration of the founding of the empire. It was amazingly beautiful there. The girl played an important role. The princess, the best magician of the century, used her great skills to show the greatness of the country in which she lives. She did everything to make people like it. The woman always proved that the country was at the highest level. Dressing extravagantly was not a problem for her. She could not choose what they would give her this time. Every outfit seemed incredibly boring to her. Lisa is offered a beautiful brooch. She nods. It's incredible. For the first time, someone understands her. Besides Zion, it would be nice if she hung the thing on the side of her head, a little closer to her ear. It would probably look great. The option looks great. Smiling, the assistant suggests adding a little lace. The girl will be the brightest star at the whole banquet, as if it were meant to be. It is impossible to believe that the gentleman invited people from the best boutiques just to make the beauty happy with what she received. She did not expect this at all. The fox is touched, because she will wear one of the most beautiful outfits. The gentleman cannot help but notice that the girl is incredibly excited. There was a reason why they did not want to take her with them to the event. In 6 months, too much has happened. The empire has been diligently erasing the fact of Aristella's existence. The things she once loved and received, all of them no longer exist. The young man is worried because even though he knows that the lady is strong in spirit, he is not sure whether she will cope. The excitement does not subside. The most important thing is to check how the situation will be further. The holiday is tomorrow. The little girl is getting ready to get a good night's sleep, but as soon as her head hits the pillow, the man distracts her, asking if he is going to rest like this. The condition of the coat is not the best. The gentleman asks not to worry. He will do everything so that nothing happens. She needs to be washed before bed. Aristella jumps up. She does not need this. I want to scream at the maid, or at least Anessa. The Duke is not so easy to convince, no matter how you look at it. Leonharp is incredibly embarrassed. She has no choice but to obey. The girl likes the one who helps with the preparations for the banquet when she returns to the human body. She will make her her exclusive worker in order to receive help. Although the heroine remains in the guise of a fox, that rare day has finally arrived when she can once again feel like royalty. Perhaps it's because she hasn't dressed up in a long time, so she's all in anticipation. The assistant gasps when she sees how the Duke and Aristella look. They look great together. It even pleases the eye. Many did not think they could agree, but even Rowan he emphasizes the beauty. Adelasia compliments the fox on her shoulder. Well, especially if given her beautiful outfit, the man most likely realized how beautiful the girl is. Even despite her facial expression, he is able to understand her thoughts. Finally, the time comes to go to the imperial palace. The anticipation captivates the body, making it feel special. The girl thought that she would never return to the castle. She had lost hope of seeing her brother until she turned into a human body, but then an opportunity presented itself to her. There is a feeling of nostalgia inside. As a child, the little girl played in the corridor that leads to the hall, and most of all, she likes the portrait of the founding emperor that hangs on the wall. He looks like Aristella. As time went on, and as she grew older, the girl lost interest in such things, feeling as if everything had changed. But when she sees the castle again, her feelings change completely. She would never have thought that she would miss the palace more than she should. The Duke distracts Haru when they enter the main room. He whispers, "I want to tell you something, or rather ask you for something." Even if the beauty sees a person, she knows the best solution would be to pretend that she doesn't know anyone. She needs to stay close and not create problems. The fox herself wants peace. But if something happens, it's not her fault. The beauty knows that she can always apologize, even if she screws up. Some of the guests in the hall whisper, because they understand that the brooch on the pet is one of the masterpieces of the Master Dara, which he created recently. So it turns out that the rumors were always true. The aristocrats heard that an animal had appeared in the Duke's family, and even so, giving her valuables was considered strange. Adalasia is not left unnoticed. A lady approaches him and asks about the fox cub, which is apparently being raised on the estate. Many of the girls are angry that they did not start the conversation first. In front of Zion stands the Marquise's daughter, Franciana, who finds the animal cute and wants to pet it. Permission must be asked directly, but the heroine immediately reaches out to its muzzle. The little girl doesn't want to be touched by strangers who are not exactly pleasant. She gets angry, causing the girl to jump back. She's a little fierce, don't you think? Shrugging his shoulders, the Duke declares that the animal will not be angry if she is not touched. Foxes are very wary of rude people, such as Francine. She takes offense and quickly leaves. Aristella is glad to be left alone. There is talk all around it is varied, but there is a theme that repeats itself. Some people think that the banquet is not as interesting as last year. Many already understand that Her Highness will not come to them anymore. In the past, people from other countries came especially to be present. But now the foundation day is ordinary and empty. There is rage inside. No one dares to speak like that about the founding day of Leonia. However, it is good that the aristocrats understand and accept the value of Aristella's participation. They need to lift their spirits. The little one jumps off the shoulder. She doesn't say where she's going. She only knows that she needs to put on the main show of the holiday. She stops in the garden very soon, revealing her trump card. The girl kept magical power in the flower. When she touched it, she brought beauty into the world. The entire hall was filled with sparkling petals. It was obvious that the Empire had decided to surprise its inhabitants again. There is a bright light in the sky. The fox does not understand. She only used mana in the flower, but there is a coat of arms visible there, as if the Milky Way fell from the sky. It is mesmerizing. It is perfectly clear that there are no other magicians who can handle such a scale, except for one person, Enrizion. He never liked this type of magic, so he did not do it without a reason. The man had always refused the emperor because he did not want to seem too pretentious, but this time he decided to make an exception without explaining why he needed it. Returning back to the young man, the girl sees his questioning expression. She will not thank him for his help because what is happening smacks of an act of pity. There is no time for emotions. This may be the only chance to fix everything we need. To get more information, someone in the room definitely has dark magic. The girl is looking for the Count, but can't notice him. There are many familiar faces around, but no one she can trust. Suddenly, her gaze turns into the distance, and she hears a name, Greta. Her eyes widen. In front of her is none other than Lateron. She is the first daughter of the Marquise. She has always had only one desire, nothing other than to become the flower of high society. She harbored hope that everything would turn out well if she behaved correctly, but her dreams were not fulfilled. Her father's situation worsened. Financial problems began. They sucked the family into a funnel, and getting out of there seemed almost impossible. Greta had no choice but to take one path. She made the right decision, became the princess's personal maid, used Aristella's power to restore her family, and that's how she enjoyed high society. The aristocrats gathered around the girl. They were trying to start a conversation. Someone was listening that Lateran had achieved great success in the south. It seemed that the heroine had managed to climb even higher, reaching the peaks. The fox cannot compare with herself, because even her place, the throne, which stood just below the emperor's, has disappeared, not to mention the flowers that the heroine always selected, especially to decorate the banquet hall. Everything for a worthy image. It seems that people moved on, not paying attention to the disappearance of the princess in her past life. She died receiving hatred and constant curses from everyone she tried, but people simply did not recognize the person. In her next life, the beauty expected the same attitude from people, realizing that there was almost no point in just hoping she grew up accustomed to the cold. At least she thought she had gotten used to it. Later, she had the chance to experience this personally, and when it happened, the heroine realized that she had been deceiving herself. The aristocrats were trampling and desecrating the small trace of Aristella's existence. It became clear how much they despised her. As soon as people knew that Leonharp was trapped in the body of a fox, they would surely laugh no matter how desperate it was. There would not be a single person who would truly shed a tear. They all didn't care. Hara is wondering if she can deal with the curse. The Duke sits down next to her, asking why the little girl is sad. That's why he didn't want to take her with him. You don't look like yourself. The man assures that if Leonharp returned to her original form, there would be no one who could ignore her. The girl shines brighter than everyone. She is definitely wondering why he is trying to comfort me. He is not wrong in what he says, Aristella, who is so perfect that she makes everyone envious, which is why she could always keep her head held high, not paying attention to others. A glass with a strange drink appears on the table. The fox does not quite understand what the point of giving her juice is. Noticing that this is allowed only once, she lowers her tongue. It's not that simple. There is joy on her face. The girl's favorite cocktail is in the glass. She feels alive again. She missed the castle incredibly much, especially her room. The beauty goes for a walk along the corridors. She finds herself in her chambers, which have been empty for a long time, but she is glad that all her things are still in their places. At the top, on one of the shelves, are the items of the great sorceress. No one dares to touch them without permission. She thinks that she will take some items and then go back to the main hall. Someone is about to break into the room. The little girl quickly jumps under the sofa to hide. Restless thoughts are spinning inside her head. It is not clear who is there. How dare they enter the princess? A voice is heard saying that an object needs to be found that will be carefully searched. Count and Countess Arzuti look around. It's so quiet and ominous here. Let's leave quickly. They need to speed up. Of course, the couple has no idea that everything valuable has already been taken by the one to whom the things belong. They are horrified, realizing that there is nothing. 5 minutes of searching, however, were crowned with success. The Countess shouts that she found the necessary thing. The Count heard that Aristella is stupid, so she can only use magic. The earrings appear on the table. Arzuti exhales calmly. Now she can relax. The woman recognizes the jewelry because she didn't just use them for wearing. She accumulated mana in them. The earrings are filled with concentrated power, making it clear they are planning to extract and use someone else's mana. There are 2 ways to gain control over someone else's magical abilities. You can either use his blood or a personal item. The state of mixing is very dangerous. It is prohibited in the Empire, but there is a way to mix mana safely. It is the best one. It is to bind the power of the dead man to yourself. If the Countess and Count stole something from the princess's bedroom, they are 100% sure that the girl is no longer alive. They specifically checked everything before taking advantage of the opportunity. The 2 think that stealing the power concentrated in the earrings will be quite easy. She of course suspected them, but now she knows she received confirmation. They are black magicians. The door swings open. A disgruntled voice is heard. The Duke appears, before the couple, asking if they are in their right minds. The fox's eyes light up. Zion arrived on time. There is nothing to say. The man remembers why he went to the chambers. Aristella asked to go to the banquet, but she did not say why she actually came, just in case the young man followed her in order to understand what her plan was. His Highness hadn't thought about it, but it seems that surprises await him. Clutching the earrings in her hand, the Countess clarifies how Henrician ended up in this place. He violates all their hidden expectations of what they do. The young man calmly explains that he came for his little fox. The little one jumps out from under the sofa and runs straight to him. She hopes that she can explain without words what happened. It seems no one noticed her earlier. Arzuti looks at her husband. Nothing terrible happened. After all, the animal won't be able to say anything because it doesn't understand anything. They turn to the Duke, forgive me, but we don't understand what the problem is. The brunette does not become favorable. He asks the same question again, turning his attention to the fox. The man sees how she reveals secret meanings. The couple comes up with the perfect explanation. They couldn't believe the princess had died, so they came to look for evidence themselves. Zion snorts, they could file a petition due to your doubts. Even to this, the answer is found. Doubts arose after the funeral. If they had expressed such doubts, they would have insulted the monarch who was conducting the event. There was no way out, everything had to be done secretly, so that no questions or condemnation would arise. Aristella shows with her whole appearance that she should not be trusted under any circumstances. She herself heard how they slandered and condemned her. The girl picks up the second earring, which she accidentally dropped on the floor. They are about to sneak away with the princess's jewelry. Arzuti uses magic and illusion to hide the thing from prying eyes. Zion doesn't leave the passage blocking the door. He wants to know how the search for the princess is going, which was under his leadership because everyone was trying so hard to find traces of the lady. The count shakes his head, indicating denial. Nothing significant has been found yet. If they find any clues, they will definitely report them so that there will be an opportunity to go after the girl. Adelasia wonders why the lady wants to steal the jewelry. She says that she is doing it just in case he wants to take a closer look. Exchanging glances with her husband, the woman holds out her hand. Horror is reflected on her face as soon as she lowers her gaze. The countess is in a panic. She doesn't understand what happened to her hand, which is covered in dark cracks. She doesn't believe it. The fusion of mana with a dead person usually happens without side effects, but Aristella is alive. The question is reflected in her eyes. The brunette does not understand whether Her Highness was really able to survive. It does not seem real. They searched for her for a long time. No traces were left. Arzuti turns to the gentleman, his voice trembling, as he asks if the young man knew the woman was still alive. He asks where Leon Harp is. The girl groans. They have the audacity to pretend to care about her. The young man smiles. No one knows where the lady is, but he is sure that if she saw what was happening in her chambers, she would probably laugh. The couple is outraged. How could you think such a thing about us? This is a misunderstanding. The young man only agrees with the fact that something strange is happening. They are pressuring him with other things, saying that he and the Adelasia couple were very close. His lordship must come to his senses. He must remember what the princess did and how she treated his parents. Arzuti begins to be covered with dark cracks that gradually spread. He asks, reminding that the guy hated the girl. She was arrogant, relied only on herself, not trusting anyone else. Aristella did not shy away from any cruelty or atrocities. It is very important to find her, if she is alive to talk, and more. The fox slightly cringes. She is afraid to understand where this is leading. She understands that, after that incident, there is like a wall between them, but she hopes that the man will not believe the impudent alien lie. Words stop coming. Suddenly, blood starts pouring out of her mouth. The girl is horrified and understands what will happen next. Arzuti is no longer trying to persuade her. He is screaming, begging, please save us. You can heal us. You won't leave us to die, will you? Green eyes shine with arrogance. Surprisingly, Henrichon was going to do exactly this. Leave the couple to certain death. The count has another ace up his sleeve. He, gasping for breath, grabs his trouser leg with his hand. Coughing, the man asks if the Duke is interested in the cause of his parents' death. He can promise to tell the whole truth and what connection the princess herself has with their death. Without having time to say more, the two fall to the floor. There's only blood around, it's all over. The fox knew that if they had thrown away the earring, everything would have stopped, but the countess, on the contrary, clung to it tightly, destroying them both. People tend to strive for certain goals. Usually every person wants something black. Magic misleads them. They can imagine that they own magic, that they control it without problems. In fact, they are mistaken when they foolishly think about one thing black magic possesses them, until the very end, after death. The bodies of such people give clear signs that they were engaged in forbidden things. People will brand them forever. Rowan appears in the room he is interested in. What the Arzuti were talking about. He heard everything, But first, they need to deal with the bodies. After that, they can calmly discuss everything. The young man came out to the nobles. He had a chance to briefly explain the essence of the incident, and he asked them to disperse. Naturally, the posthumous seal of magic testified to everyone that the deceased were dark magicians. The nobles did not know how to react. There was a noise in the castle which made them doubt reality. They were afraid that among ordinary people, there were those who posed a threat. The fox looks at the black blood that spilled around the Arzuti are dead. But this is only the beginning. It is not clear how much the magic has managed to spread, how much it has affected people in society. While with the master, Rowan still tries to find out the truth. He is interested in what the Count was talking about. The man knew something. The young man still cannot forgive what happened. The guy acted hastily, and then he began to be constantly tormented by senseless nightmares. Every night, he became worse and worse. Lately, he has not slept at all. His body is beyond control. The princess remembers what happened when she learned that the Grand Dukes of Adalasia had died, and it also became known that black magic was to blame for this. The woman was very scared, but not for herself, but for her friend. The truth about the death could become known to everyone else. The lady ordered the wing of the palace to be cordoned off so that no one could enter it, while she herself decided to deal with the bodies and hush up the situation, doing it professionally. From the very beginning, it became clear that if even one soul knew about what had happened, it would be the end of Adalasia's family. She didn't want to tell Zion the truth, so she ordered his parents to be buried in a hurry. Now Kenin looks at the fox, his voice lowering as he orders her to speak about what happened that day. He wants to know why the princess acted without asking anyone. In the past, the story was too complicated, but if the lady had not prevented the exchange of letters, then he would not have let the situation go so easily. He is formidable. Why did you do this? Adalasia still did not understand why. Despite the fact that this was his family, he was not allowed to say goodbye. The lady did everything herself by right of the Duke's bride. He raises his voice, asking again why they treated him so cruelly. Surely the lady simply wanted to get her opportunity in this way. After all, she has always been willful. The little animal lowers her head. She is truly sorry. She wants to ask for forgiveness, but she cannot tell the truth. Despite the problems, Leonharp should not pay attention to any insults and accusations directed at her. The main thing is that the guy does not find out the truth. The main thing is that he does not get hurt. Everything the princess did was to protect her lover and his family. He can't stand his ex, and the irony is that she does it for the good of the world on purpose. The secret will be kept and never revealed to the public. From the outside, it looked as if the princess had interfered in another family's business without any reason immediately after the sudden death of the ducal couple. And naturally, Auricion was in shock. After what happened, a chasm opened up. The relationship ended. The lady didn't want it, but she couldn't object either. She thought she could cope. She hoped that everything would be fine with her. The main thing was that she protected the Duke. In any case, the family is under the influence of the curse. He will hate the princess, which she did not do. It's just that the events happened earlier than they should have happened. According to the plot, the young man is hurt by the loss, but Aristella can endure it. The little girl feels that she is getting sick. The memories brought tears. She understands that no one should see such a picture. People will misunderstand. This is all not true. Zion will have nightmares if the lady stays with him. Looking at the situation, the lady decided to sleep in another room. Morning comes the captain of the knights. Arzuti sent a request for cooperation. The Duke asks to send a response. They are ready, but unforeseen situations must be taken into account. The Count's family must be in disarray. The Count's chat had an impeccable reputation. In social circles, the forgotten black magic has resurfaced. No one understands what this will mean for the future. Many have noticed that the estate has become a little quieter lately. The servants can say that they feel a little empty. The red-haired one does not understand where the fox is. The people from the estate, like the animal, she always brings joy. And now that she has gone somewhere, it is strange that she has lost interest in the Duke. The green-eyed man remembers that the baby didn't even sleep in his bedroom that night. Despite this, he is sure that everything is fine with her, because she can take care of herself. She is a princess. No problems are an obstacle. Aristella looks out the window. Perhaps she shouldn't bother the Duke, like before they usually spent quite a lot of time together. However, everything is changing again. Even before the meeting, the two were on cold terms, and nothing could improve. Considering that what happened had worsened the situation, the fox forgot about it for a while because she was in the form of an animal. The woman must return to find a way to return to human form. She must hurry after everything happens. She will leave the estate, allowing others to forget about her. After some time, the heroine still couldn't find a single drop of information. She lies tiredly next to a million pieces of paper. There's no need to be upset. She didn't expect to find the materials she needed so easily. The gaze moves to one of the books. It describes the history of the founding of the empire. This might be of interest. During the time when Leonia was just forming black magic was the most prominent, and the fact that the first ruler put an end to dark magic by killing all the magicians was the most discussed thing first and foremost. Aristella decides that in any case she can calmly read a little. If she doesn't find anything there either, then all that remains is to leave the estate and find her way alone. The fox is obliged to collect as much information as possible. She delves into what is written, but she is distracted. Henrician enters the room. Rowan follows him. He is interested in what his lordship needs. A red-haired girl looks into the room. She exclaims joyfully. The little girl cannot imagine how bad it is without her, and what is no less important, how boring the girl does not believe that she was visited. Aristella snorts, hiding her joy. She jumps and hides behind the table. She doesn't want to cook with the Duke. She's offended, but doesn't want to talk about it. Kanan's assistant looks around, noticing the books. The woman doesn't quite understand how the beauty could read. There are only letters written there. She suggests bringing some kind of publication with pictures to make it a little more interesting. An attempt to take the book does not end entirely positively. The lady repeats that the pictures will be better than the uninteresting history of the empire. The gentleman asks not to disturb the animal. He knows that she likes what she reads. The heroine cannot resist, and therefore calmly nods. The redhead strokes the fox. It seems that the young man understands her better. The heroine looks sadly at the floor. Anessa says strange things. She does not see reality, which in fact is unfavorable. The heroine doesn't want to admit it to herself, but it's painful to think about it. The future is unknown, and it frightens her. His lordship is looking through a book. Rowan distracts him by asking if he will stay in the office. The brunette nods. If the assistant wishes, he can go himself, instead of being boring. The young man sits down next to him. Of course he won't leave without the Duke. He must always be there. They answer him about what the hero is looking for. He needs all the possible information about the princess's past, this time checking everything that happened before her disappearance. Another night comes. The brunette goes to bed, but understands that everything is repeating itself lately. He has not been able to sleep at all. His head is full of thoughts that do not give him peace. When the hero saw Aristella in a new guise, he immediately thought that it was dark magic due to the fact that in the imperial palace in her bedroom, he saw the count's couple, Arzuti. It turned out that they were involved in the story with the powers. Before her death, the old man began to talk about the princess, whose name was she who buried the Duke's parents. It is strange that her guilt is so obvious. Perhaps it was something that was hidden from prying eyes. Most of the servants who were in the estate that day were fired. Only one person remained, who still works, the butler, and the master invites him for a conversation. Sitting down, he sips some tea until he is asked if he was not present at the funeral on the day of his parents' death, and wonders if he saw their bodies when death occurred. The butler answers positively. He saw the bodies, however, only from afar. He did not come closer. The brunette nods. I understand you, and before their death, do you remember anything suspicious? While the Duke was away from the estate, his mother became much worse. His father was next to her. Kanan nods. He remembers how a letter came to him. It just said this, nothing else was mentioned. Then the heir dropped all his affairs, realizing that they were no longer so important, and immediately went to the estate. However, the master received a letter, stating that this was no longer necessary, asking that his son do something else. Zion was worried that his mother had become ill. He did not quite understand what had provoked the deterioration. The butler continued, while His Excellency was away. The princess came to the ducal estate. Here the young man is surprised. He does not understand what Aristella's motive is. He did not know about it, because usually the lady spent time there only when her lover was there. The woman wouldn't have come there just like that, which meant that this led to one logical explanation. She knew something, but she just didn't admit it, deciding that it would be better to keep everything to herself. That day, the lady came to visit the Grand Duke. The butler, unfortunately, was unable to hear the details of the conversation, as he was standing behind the door. However, he remembers the moment when he saw the princess off. The old man is not sure, but it seems the girl was crying. He shrugs again, mentioning that maybe he imagined it. After all, eyesight invariably gets worse with age. The green-eyed man chuckled. He needed time to think. It seemed like he was telling the truth, because he gave a lot of details, but the man didn't believe himself. He thought he was imagining things. The old man remembers another detail. It seems that Her Highness was wounded. He does not know how the wounds appeared on her face, but it is better to tell the gentleman even this small detail. Heading down the corridor to get back to the corridor, the hero collides with the fox. She grabs his pants leg with her teeth. With one look, the little girl asks not to tell. Of course, no one understands, Aristella going down lower. The old man strokes her head, asking her to wait a little. Then thunder is heard outside the window. The body begins to tremble. What terrible weather! It's clear that the animal is frightened by the thunderstorm, so they pick it up in their arms. The princess can only rejoice in the fact that in the end, everything worked out perfectly. There is no need to go to Zion. The next day is as calm as all the previous ones. The fox, as usual, is busy again. She is constantly hiding without her muzzle. It became boring at work. The Duke thinks, and it's true that since he met her in the library, she hasn't appeared again. He's sure that the little girl is busy looking for a way to return her human body. A spell that returns a person who has been transformed into an animal to human form is very rare. However, books cannot provide answers to all questions, even the most complex ones. Kanan understands that he is being avoided. Rowan notices that the gentleman is not himself, constantly remains in his thoughts, while also filling out documents. You seem upset today. Maybe you want to know where the fox is? An assistant can understand if a man suddenly misses a beauty. He didn't say anything like that, but words are not needed. Everything is written on his face. He doesn't know how to hide his emotions. Rowan remembers the last time the Duke was in such a terrible mood. It all happened when the incident with the princess happened. Why are you reacting like this? It's a pet, but not a person. The brunette is angry. He doesn't want rumors to spread. The Grand Duke can't compete in endurance with a small animal. The men drive him away. He snorts but obeys. Thank you for releasing him from work early. The servants want to look into the office. Not everyone understands what is happening. Judging by the reaction, Rowan said something careless. The young man offers the master to make peace by pleasing the animal with meat. The fox has rather simple tastes. The young man himself takes some food and goes to Aristella. She jumped out to meet him because she smelled the treats a kilometer away. She loves that kind of thing. The beauty smiles, but the situation is still funny. At first, the man didn't like the animal's presence, but now he brings food, trying to appease it. The woman did not forgive the young man, but since the meat was delicious, very soon in her eyes, he would be rehabilitated. The hero asks the question, "Why haven't you come to the office lately?" "Come with me." The princess is sad. Zion doesn't need her there. He will want to know the truth, and the heroine, unfortunately, cannot tell. A servant approaches Rowan. He reports something strange. Someone is going to act. The Duke's assistant hears the information for the 5th time, but this time the signal must be reliable. It is better not to miss the chance. His lordship, a rather meticulous man, they both don't know when to stop. The man says goodbye to the animal. Next time he will bring even more goodies. The little girl feels lost lately. He goes somewhere every night. I wonder what he's doing. Leonharp decided to follow. However, climbing over the gate was a problem. As expected, there are guards at the exit. They won't let the princess through. She suggests that there might be a gap in the fence, but she still has to try. Near the estate of Count Arzuti, knights have gathered. A magical barrier has been erected. Someone crosses it. A stranger in a dark hood is visible. Rowan grins. It took a long time to wait. More than 5 times the useless alarm sounded. But finally, Marquis de Caden fell into the trap. He was almost immediately sent to prison. As far as we know, a couple of years ago, he was convicted of embezzlement of the treasury. No one knew that he would be hiding in the estate of Arzuti, who, as it turned out, was also a dark magician. His lordship, fortunately, was the only one who guessed how things would turn out, all thanks to the long tongue of the late Count, who had recently been saying that he had improved his financial situation. Even during the conversation, the Duke suspected something was wrong. However, he, of course, did not have any solid evidence. Nevertheless, he knew the Marquis well. Pretending that he knew nothing, he began an investigation. The attitude towards dark magic does not go without a trace, and if this is true, it is worth thinking about. Rowan asks what he should do. Is it worth interrogating Dikaiden? No need. I will take care of it myself. The man notices Henriquion and smiles. They haven't seen each other for a long time. The Duke doesn't want to listen to what they tell him to seem good. He asks to leave the pleasantries and get straight to the point. The brunette hopes that the hero will remain like this in the future, and hopes that nothing will break him. It is a shame that Her Highness is no longer around. They will see how much he praises pride. There is no answer. Continuing, the man lowers his voice. He is even envious the heir of the Adelasia family, with an impeccable reputation. He is considered impeccable, but what is surprising is that the homily knows nothing. The Marquis talks a lot. He should stop the farce. He starts laughing. Of course he would like it to be just simple chatter. But even so, everyone understands that not everything is so simple. He is sure that no one wants to hear reality. The Duchess's reputation was impeccable, and it is strange that Sion continues to respect his parents. He is advised to stop the investigation in order to preserve the good memory of the deceased couple. The knight draws his sword, and in a second, Dikaiden's body falls dead. Even if the secret of death dishonors honor, it is Adelaus's personal business. And as the heir, Kanan is obliged to take responsibility for it by continuing to dig. Rowan promises to continue the investigation. The fox wants his former friend to not find out anything, but he will not stop. It all started in a place called Avus. There was a beautiful clearing strewn with fabulous flowers. The blooming brought a strange, elevated mood to people, sometimes leading to outbursts of aggression. The woman learned that the meadow had been planted by the Marquise and decided to find out the truth. Information surfaced that Dikaiden had been visiting the Duke frequently. At that time, Adelasia was in a feverish search for a cure for his wife. He called the best doctors. The aristocrat came from a family of hereditary doctors. No one had any doubts about him. The princess wanted to know if the man would bring some whole herbs and some black magic items along with them. The lady went to talk to the Duke, but Zion's parents still died, and the Duke was stubborn and didn't want to listen to Aristella's warnings. After what happened, the lady used the fact that Dikaiden was not clean with his finances to put him in prison, and then he worked as bait for those who practice magic. The woman managed to find out a lot. She learned about the network of dark wizards, but was turned into a fox and lost everything. She is glad that at least Adelasia caught the Marquise. Rowan delivers the documents to the office. The princess was last seen in a place called Avus. It was when she ran away from home. That place is in the Marquis' domain. It's a guess, but maybe the lady didn't run away at all. Leonharp knew about the spread of black magic. She must have tried to resist every time she needed to deal with wizards. She ran away. The young man remembers that the lady buried his parents without permission, getting up. He says that they have to go somewhere. There is no doubt that the Adelasia couple was involved in dark forces. Rowan doesn't understand why they arrived at the Duke's father's office. It had already been noted earlier that there wasn't a single crystal from the mages who were still alive in this place, only crystals from past generations. This thought came to mind only after the incident with Arzuti. The man begins to understand that he knew nothing about his parents, thought that they were completely different people. Unlike Kanan, Aristella knew everything. She made sure that the young man did not find out about the evidence of his parents' use of black magic. She protects the honor of the Adelasia family and the Duke himself. The princess's honor was irreparably tarnished, but she did not pay attention to it all for the sake of her friend to save him. In the morning, the young man goes to the fox. He asks if she wants to run away from home. The little girl, confused, skeptically asks how this is even connected. Leaving a plate on the table, the Duke says that in front of the girl is a new dessert from the chef. The heroine does not understand what is wrong with it. It is as if he is trying to appease her, which is completely unusual. If he gave it, there is nothing to take away. She takes a bite. At that very moment, happiness was reflected on his face. The apple tasted like pure pleasure. His appetite had increased, and at the most inconvenient moment, Kanan started the topic of his parents. Maybe you'll tell me the truth. The green-eyed man had already guessed it himself, but he needed direct confirmation. He clarified whether the Adelasia couple was connected to dark magic and how this happened at all. Silence signifies the reality of what happened. The girl suffered a huge amount of hatred and accusations. It is strange that she did not say anything when she was given the opportunity to do so. Bowing her head, the little girl asks for forgiveness for not saying anything. She wanted her parents to remain in her memory forever as good and kind. She did a lot for this. Bowing his head, the young man sincerely thanks the princess for thinking about him and the family's honor. She took the blow upon herself, trying to protect the Duke from the bitter truth. The girl doesn't think she did anything special. Everyone already hated her, so she didn't think that if she took on another guilt, something colossal would change. The boy's voice becomes increasingly sad. He is going to get to the bottom of the truth. He calmly asks to tell whether his parents did anything against the Empire. The heroine knows that this is not so quickly grabbing the pen. She reaches for the paper. Quickly, she writes that the couple got involved in the story with black magic, not with bad intentions. At that time, the Duchess was very ill. She was about death. The Duke, who loved and worried about his wife, very much desperately sought a way to cure her, to make her live longer, all the while showering his family with his warmth and love. The girl finishes writing and says that her parents were very worried about Zion not wanting him to worry or get involved in an unpleasant situation. The young man's eyes shine. At some point, he begins to hear Aristella's voice. After so much time, he reports this, to which the little girl exclaims in surprise, "Is this true?" The beauty suggests that this became a reality, not just like that, but because they were together for a long enough time. It seems they could well exchange mana. It's rare that this will work, but it can't be ruled out. The princess wanted to say something else, but suddenly she falls. Her face turns red. Either she lost consciousness or went into a deep sleep. The little girl sees clouds of cotton candy in front of her, which makes her want to dive into them, or better yet, just eat them. They moved her to another place to make it more comfortable. It's a strange feeling, but opening her eyes, she looks around, not understanding at what point she was able to fall asleep. The fox is not on the sofa. She is in Harision's room, right on his bed. He brought her himself, but it will not be good if he stays. Leonharp is worried that the Duke won't be able to get a good night's sleep because of her. The maid enters the room and immediately groans. She informs the others in the corridor that the pet has woken up. The servants happily run to her. Anessa stroked the baby and asked what had happened to her. About 2 days had passed since she had fallen asleep. Everyone was worried about her, but one could not help but be glad that she was okay. When there is no one left in the room, the master asks what happened. The fox herself has no idea. Perhaps these are residual effects of mana. The lady knew that she would never be heard, but she tried. She wanted to fix everything. The hope that the voice would be heard by Zion was constantly hidden in her heart. Until the very end, the green-eyed man, while she was unconscious, managed to find out something. The young man knows the information that if he stays in the estate, the mana, albeit gradually, will begin to heal. There is joy on his face, while the heroine cannot believe what she was told. This is wonderful. People with strong magical powers are able to collect energy from the environment. Aristella will succeed. She is an outstanding magician. She just needs to wait a little, because it will not happen in one day. Because the princess spent some time near the Duke, she received some mana from him, which directly benefited her. Zion is as powerful as she is? Taking the baby in his arms, the hero explains that due to a small amount of power, the lady lost consciousness. She snorts. "I only said a few words to you. I consider this completely unfair." It's sad to realize that the times have come when the princess is happy with even the smallest drop of energy. Before, for her, it was something ordinary, an impressive event. And after a while, she can talk to the Duke, even if only a little. Aristella spent 6 months in the body of a fox. She managed to do the impossible, increased her mana potential. Maybe gradually, she will be able to return to her former human form. The little girl wonders if there is a way to increase the effect faster, and an idea comes to mind. But after trying it that same evening, Leon Harp realizes that nothing works. The girl attempted to draw mana from her magical crystals, but her body rejected the power. Presumably, black magic was to blame. She'll have to try with natural crystals. Unfortunately, there is a downside. A lot of money will be needed. The lady is sad. She is already in debt to Zion and has nothing to repay him with. Night is falling. It is not clear where the Duke is. After the fox fainted, they still haven't really communicated. The door opens just in time. Adelasia is on the threshold. Surprisingly, the little girl is not sleeping. She explained why she decided to wait for him, sacrificing her rest. The morning starts terribly on the very first day after talking with Henrician. The girl had a nightmare. Anessa clung to the animal, hugging her. She notices that the fur is hard and there are circles under the eyes. When she doesn't get enough sleep, she runs away because she didn't get enough sleep. Now she feels bad. She wants to be angry at everyone. Aristella wants to be only near Adelasia. She jumps on the table, hoping that the young man will let her sleep. Her gaze turns to the mug that is nearby, from where a pleasant smell of black coffee comes. No matter how delicious the drink is, it disrupts sleep. The Duke already has insomnia, and he dares to ruin the situation. Leon Harp knocks over the mug, spilling all the contents onto the floor. Snorting with displeasure, the brunette asks Rowan to bring another coffee. The fox is not understood. It is simply obvious that she is angry. The assistant tactfully suggests that the young man abstain from the drink, at least for one day. Last time, the hero completely lost consciousness, waving it off. He notes that this did not happen, and when they remind him of that day, he raises his voice, forcing him to shut up. I'm telling you, this did not happen. The fox goes to bed with Zion. It's time to rest. She can't help but notice that the guy has lost weight, and he threw off the blanket. She assumes that he might be cold. A brilliant idea comes to mind. To lie on top of the neck, to warm it with fur. As soon as the girl does this, she is asked if this can be considered an attempt on a person's life. The princess has zero patience. Her short temper makes her quickly angry. She bites his neck. It would be better for him to sleep and not get indignant. In a calm voice, the young man asks, not to bite so as not to draw blood. Deciding to give in, Aristella moves away, moving up to the pillow. She lies down above the Duke's head. He wishes him good night, expecting that again he will not be able to sleep well. Memories come flooding back to me a long time ago. They slept together, just like then. Zion is warm. You don't want to leave him, and lying next to him is much nicer than alone. There is a commotion in the castle. Morning has come, and his lordship is nowhere to be found. He has insomnia, which is why he always gets up earlier than everyone else in the estate. However, this time the man has disappeared. The butler is the most worried. The man decides to go to Henrician's room to see if he is there. When he goes inside, he freezes, realizing that the hero is still in bed, and not just lying there, but sleeping. Near the master's face, there is a fox, which managed to move closer during the night. This reminded the butler of the young master's adolescence. Very often it happened that the princess, along with Zion, disappeared somewhere without warning. The servants could never find them. The estate was not as big as the palace, but even there they managed to get lost. Almost always, the boys could be found in strange places, the only exception being that they were sleeping together instead of playing or doing other things. Lately, the man has become more nostalgic. After all, the years are taking their toll, and probably nothing will change. In the corridor, the butler meets Rowan, who greets him. He has come to the Duke, and not just like that, but with a report he is interested in, whether the young man has gotten up. The answer is not entirely comforting. It turns out he needs to wait a little. It seems the young man has decided to catch up on sleep for the first time in a long time. The hero doesn't believe what he's been told, remembering very well that no medication has ever worked for his insomnia, which has left him in constant torment, unable to see what can be done to change it. It becomes clear that the fox has helped him, since he got a wonderful pet. He immediately felt noticeably better. The assumption is in vain, but most likely the animal has become a very close friend. The brunette finally opens his eyes, and Aristella starts to bother him. She's tossing and turning, muttering something about a tasty treat. And even in her sleep, she's making all sorts of mistakes, as if she's doing it on purpose to annoy him. The hero hasn't slept properly for a long time. Maybe that's why his body feels so light. The green-eyed man can't understand how lucky he is that the girl returned to him in the body of an animal. Looking at the princess as she appears, the man sees Aristella as she was in childhood. He still remembers everything he will never forget because she was his best friend. In the past, the young man promised that he would grow up, become strong, and be a lady's protector. The blonde snorted in response, because she believed that even after 10 years, she would still be much stronger than the hero. The princess loved to brag, but covered it all up with the fact that nothing could be done, so the young man could always hide behind her back. Then she was self-confident, however the day had begun when she would be protected. Touching his face with his palm, the hero strokes the fox. Despite everything he wants to see her golden eyes. They are like the sun, they lift his spirits. Of course he is not thinking about the fox's gaze, but about Aristella's eyes, about her human form. And one day he will again be able to make everything good, and she will appear before him. The baby notices that her body has finally started producing mana after a long time, and this is already a reason for her to be proud, because initially this is what she had been trying to achieve for a long 6 months. Unfortunately, not everything is so rosy. The resources of the new body are limited. The fox's body can only absorb 1 crystal, and this is enough for telepathic communication, lasting about half an hour. Expensive crystals, they give very little, and it's not worth it. The death of Count and Countess Arzuti will have consequences. Black magicians who have been hiding until now will begin to act. Besides, you need to be prepared. The lady is obliged to return to her human form. In order to compensate for her weakness, the beauty would need a huge amount of stones. Zion cannot be asked for this, considering that he has every right to refuse, even if he asks for help. The girl needs someone she can trust, someone who knows about the secret. The fox is sorry that she has no one left. The little girl looks at the crystals that were given to her. The master promises that he will give more if needed. For the green-eyed one, this is not at all difficult. Thanks to her friend, the beauty has learned to master mana, so she can just chat as much as she wants. She just needs to try to remain silent in front of strangers. The lady hadn't understood this before, but it seemed the Duke was truly a good man, since he was going to help without seeing any problem with it. The heroine sincerely thanks him in advance. For the mana stones, she can express sincerity. In response, Zion grins. His kindness will cost him dearly, but there is no turning back. She will be provided with everything she needs. Rowan informs his lordship that a guest has arrived. He has no appointment, but asks for a meeting. The brunette nods. He must tell him that he will receive him when he makes an appointment appropriately. The man wanted to say the same thing in order to calmly refuse, but something caught his attention. The lady who arrived, her name was Sonia. She was a servant to the princess. The girl worked for Her Highness for 2 years. Aristella did not often see the Duke just like the maid, but she saw the young man several times from afar. Before Leonharp disappeared, this girl was her trusted governess. Even Cyan knew about it. However, everyone was fired, so there was no one left in the wing of the palace where the mistress's chambers were located. Sonia is asked why she came to the estate. It turns out that she saw the Duke on the last day of the holiday. She understood that they needed a meeting in any case. The brunette smiles. She doesn't need a normal answer, because she already knows it in advance. Despite this, she asks the princess is in your estate, isn't she? In the past, the lady needed someone she could trust, and when she found Sonia on the street, the blonde made an offer, asking her to go and work for her as a personal maid. The green-eyed man squints, wondering why the woman is trying to find information about the missing royal. He claims that she is not at the estate, although the governess is sure of the opposite. It is not clear what is happening at the estate, but it is likely that there is a circumstance preventing the princess from returning, and she requires someone to act on her behalf in her interests until she can return. Sonia is sure that Aristella will be useful. A servant would never dare betray someone she wants to serve. Please let me work here. The Duke refuses to the last, looking confident enough that no matter what the woman says, there is no princess in the estate. However, he is ready to give her a chance. The fox does not understand what is planned. An hour later, Sonia introduces herself. Officially, she will be the girl's personal servant. She promises that she will carry out any order Aristella does not understand. She does not remember that in the past, the heroine was so diligent. Previously, everything was completely different. The beauty was much more detached, did not give in to emotions, and she did not show them to anyone. They brought a special pillow for the animal to make it more comfortable to rest. Since it was already a gift, it needs to be picked up. The little one is happy because the fabric is incredibly nice. Everything is made from the best material, the lady's favorite material. I knew you would like it. It feels like the dream lady has returned to the princess's everyday life. The past is pleasant. The pillow is good. However, you need to make sure that you can really trust Sonia, that she will not decide to betray you. The next day, something happened that turned the world upside down. The little girl heard screams from the very morning Sonia was brought into his lordship's office, and she was in handcuffs. The man looks at her and menacingly asks the question that interests him. The girl was definitely looking for something in the estate, but it is not clear who is behind her. The princess remembers the past, and it is impossible to imagine that she could be plotting something against him. Almost always, the girl did whatever she was ordered to do. Flawlessly, she was good enough to be able to avoid arousing suspicion, even if she were a spy. Green-eyed remembers what Sonia told him. They saw each other at the founding of the empire. However, he does not recall such meetings. He has to tell the truth. Having secured support, she borrowed a uniform and eavesdropped on his lordship's conversation. The heroine screams that although she had no right to eavesdrop, it happened that way. They left her no other choice. She wanted to ask directly, but the situation does not allow it. She is just a governess. Since Sonia does not have the opportunity or sufficient resources to find Her Highness, she could only observe from the sidelines the man who has this opportunity due to his high position in society. Nothing in the conversation could hint at who the fox was, but Sion spoke about the mistress. Perhaps that is why the former servant thought that he knew something the girl never told Leon Harp, but she saved her life. On the day they met, thoughts of committing suicide were on her mind. But then she was offered to become a personal assistant, forcing her to change her mind. Besides all this, the time spent with the princess turned out to be happier than she thought. Literally every day seemed like a gift from God. Listening to everything that is being said to him, the gentleman chuckles. Obviously, she sincerely wants to find her princess. He is still interested in why they will be looking at his estate. The conversation turns to one interesting story. A woman once told a story about a white fox. The heroine of that story, an animal living in the imperial palace one day, met a boy turning away. They answer her, "I have never heard of this." Her Highness mentioned that she shared this story only with her assistant. Initially, the story was supposed to be fiction. The woman assured that she simply read about it. However, from the very beginning, it was clear who the story was about. Approaching the young lady, the maid sits down and says that she missed the princess very much. The fox nods. "I missed her very much too." The brunette is surprised. She does not understand how an animal can talk. Aristella apologizes. She did not want to reveal her identity ahead of time until she can return to her original body. Sonia laughs. She planned to pretend that she didn't recognize her mistress. No matter what, she is incredibly happy that she got to hear Leon Harp's voice again. It has been more than 6 months since the last time. The girl likes the pillow. She is pleased that her preferences have not been forgotten. However, she wants to know why the attitude has changed so abruptly. The maid was worried when the princess disappeared, completely forgetting about pride. She was worried about the cocoon attitude she had shown earlier. From now on, the heroine plans to be more sincere in her feelings. Her Highness should be prepared, because she will have to try her best on purpose. The fox thanks her, but it's a little strange. Since the lady is of low rank, the actions are greatly limited. However, she has a proposal. The heroine can choose a day to meet with Charlotte. Contrary to her image, the lady is wonderful at keeping secrets. The princess nods. Although she doesn't quite believe how the meeting will go, quite a long time has passed since they stopped communicating after she hurt her friend. Sonia assures that there is nothing to worry about. It is all in vain. Charlotte keeps Aristella in her heart, sincerely believing that she remained alive, even if everyone else in the empire has long forgotten how the girl disappeared. Moreover, she is perhaps the only lady who has the opportunity to do as she pleases without worrying about the opinions of other people. She is not interested in the public. When she was a child, high society considered her quite strange, not recognizing her. She renounced the ruling family, gave up her status, and even decided to change her name, all for a reason. She had a goal to become an opera singer. Charlotte was previously called Dahlia Leonharp. Finally, she arrives at the estate because Aristella gave her consent. She elegantly greets his lordship. The girl is familiar with Zion. However, they are meeting for the first time since becoming a singer. After all, it happened not so long ago, and it took some time to achieve her dream. The lady looks around and smiles. She hasn't been to the duchy for a long time. She thanks the gentleman for the opportunity. She didn't think that you would come out and meet her in person. The young man shrugs as he merely sent an invitation to an old acquaintance, since various unflattering rumors always circulated around her. Aristocrats avoided communicating with her so as not to be drawn into these rumors. Blue-eyed smiles, finding this gesture still incredibly sweet. She sits down. It's time to discuss what will happen next. Aristella never returned. She probably ran away with her first love. Sometimes the maiden thinks about the option. She of course does not know for sure what happened, but the princess said that she was tired, so she believes that the woman ran away with her lover. The Duke clarifies that he has never heard of anyone like that. The fox's reaction is suspicious. She shakes, restraining herself from screaming and ordering her to be quiet and not think about such things. The maid joins the conversation, confirming the fact that the beauty had someone the master feels like the only one who is lost, because he still does not understand what is being discussed and what he should do next. Sonia can only say one thing. Aristella never mentioned. A name the princess is happy. She always fell asleep before she started shouting Henricion's name. She didn't think that the conversation would lead in the wrong direction. Leonharp has mentioned several times that she was rejected even before she managed to confess. But looking away, the guy remarks that if he knew the truth, he would definitely help her with how to better arrange her personal life. Charlotte, in fact, suspects several gentlemen. The fox gets even angrier. She has no right to tell the lady to shut up. However, this is considered a direct betrayal, which is difficult to come to terms with. It's good that the blonde stops in time, noticing that this is a secret that she will never reveal. Even so, there is a feeling that 10 years of friendship have been completely wasted. It was nice to talk again without rushing in peace after the lady had disappeared. She hadn't thought that she would be able to meet again, and it was clear that Leonharp would be fine. As a rule, there are different types of people, and the princess is the type of person who will be fine. No matter what happens to them, the blue-eyed one always thought, so she was always sure of what her friend really was. Without intending to somehow offend the woman's honor, the blonde nevertheless expresses her thoughts on this matter. She believes that the lady lives for her own pleasure, and most importantly, she is alive. Due to her convictions, she did not even want to go to the funeral. Sonia is asked when, in her opinion, the lady last met the princess. The woman herself does not know, so she answers the question with a question, waiting for when she will be told the glorious story. The last meeting took place when Aristella's power was unstable. This became a clear indicator of what the lady would do next. In this case, there could be absolutely no mistake. Smiling, Charlotte looks at the fox. She thought that she would not be recognized. But this is not so. The turning point was that Sonia, not accepting any help, suddenly wanted to settle in the Adelasia estate. The way it all ends will be quite natural. The princess thought that she would not be recognized. She tried so hard to hide that it is even a little sad that the situation was revealed. I will help you, Aristella, don't worry so much. You can consider that help is a return of a debt. Thanks to the girl, the dream came true. She managed to become a singer a few months ago. The heroine performed with the marionette in her favorite opera. Charlotte remembers everything as if it were real. It was amazing. She hoped that the princess would come, but she didn't wait. Next time, the lady is obliged to come and see the performance. The heroine was a little gloomy, but her expression changes when her friend invites her. She will have to go, especially in order to see with her own eyes what an incredible singer she is. Before the woman managed to become an important person in the opera, Dahlia's only joy was songs from the operas which they attended together. Even the Duke was present with them, who enjoyed this kind of pastime. Leonharp dreamed of a free life. She needed nothing else. However, this wish was not destined to come true. The girl's father, a dissolute drunkard, was going to marry his daughter off to a richer old man. The maiden had no choice but to turn to the emperor and princess for help. However, there were subtleties there too, and her path was ruined. The king's family has no right to interfere in the personal affairs of the empire's citizens. It is against the rules and could cause a rebellion, so the only option was to refuse. The princess came up with a good option. She used as an argument the inheritance left to Dahlia by her great-grandmother, who left a decent amount before her death. After this, the lady's father did not keep him waiting. His greed showed itself. He started a conversation, and while the lady frantically tried to understand how the truth had surfaced, they put forward a condition to her. If you want to leave the inheritance to me. The truth came to her mind. Only Aristella knew about the money, and when she came to the princess, Dahlia screamed and cried, asking why she did this, although she knew perfectly well how much the gift her grandmother left meant. Leon Harp saved face. She was not worried about this. She remembered how Charlotte wanted to run away. Her father would never let her go without getting anything in return. She would have to make a choice. If she gave up the idea of being a singer, they would help her keep the inheritance. I remembered very well how Charlotte had chosen her option. Because of her friend, she had to live in poverty. Every time she regretted it, the desire for revenge reminded her of the importance of actions for the future. Blue-Eyed lived with her emotions, which ate away at her on a constant basis. But when she saved up enough money and went on stage, she immediately realized that she was safe living in a basement with a broken door handle. She managed to get a job also, thanks to support. The world is cruel to people like her. If not for Aristella, it's scary to imagine where the story would have turned. The only thing that is not clear is why it was impossible to report everything. The fox is calm when she notes that she was afraid that if her friend had learned that she was receiving help, she might have started looking for the princess. She should not have found herself again drawn into the tight knot of politics from which she managed to escape through blood and thorns. More than anything in the world, the lady wanted independence. No problem was as painful as the prospect of someone making choices for her throughout her entire conscious life. The lady sees the situation from a new perspective. When she was busy finalizing the details of the plan, she could not even think that any misunderstandings could arise. She believed that Dahlia would hate her anyway. As predicted, the woman began to hate her ex-girlfriend and succeeded in showing off in front of her. She simply had no other options. Smiling, the girl clarifies what is required of her. She wants to help but does not know how to do it correctly. The fox nods. She will tell the whole truth and then show what they will do. Aristella wants Dahlia to keep an eye on high society, especially negative rumors and their sources. The blonde laughs, thinking the task would be more difficult. Aristella has another wish, but it is a little more complicated. If possible, it would be nice to find out who is using Leon Harp Jr.'s empty seat for their own interests. Sonia intervenes. She also wants to help to be useful. The maid will have an equally important task. She must find out about what is happening in the castle. Everyone is still worried about the rumors about the emperor. The answer is short. Her Highness won't have to worry. There are still trustworthy people left in the palace, and more information will definitely be available. The conversation turns to black magic. Charlotte wonders how long the princess has known about this. Quite a long time ago. I have encountered this more than once. The fox had thought it all through. If she revealed the existence of dark magicians, there would be unnecessary noise in public circles, and resolving the situation calmly was unrealistic. The magicians had been operating for quite some time. In fact, there are quite a lot of magicians they have managed to unite. They act dexterously and quickly, so it was not possible to deal with them alone. Someone powerful is behind them. There's a gathering at the estate. They're saying that Marquis de Caden has also disappeared. It's believed that none other than Adelasia is behind the disappearance. The gentleman snorts. He would be useless anyway. Declan steps forward. He didn't expect Henrician to act so quickly. He's much smarter. It's for the best. Because since the Marquis wasn't hidden, there's no need to save him. Some plans urgently need to be adjusted. Someone in the hall asks a question. You need to be sure that the princess is dead. The leader assures that this is true. Of course, Declan is trusted. However, the incident with Count and Countess Arzuti makes one wonder Aristella's body was searched for. But the search was unsuccessful. It was nowhere to be found. It's scary to imagine that the princess could be alive. The brunette chuckles. He is obliged to listen to his subordinates. He nods. Okay, this is really possible. No one knows. The young man's eyes are shining. He is smiling madly. If this happens, he will take care of her personally. not leaving her a chance to survive. A second time, she does not deserve a peaceful life. The girl does not pose any threat. There is no point in worrying about this so much. If the master says so, they are obliged to trust, the subordinate agrees. Declan orders them to mind their own business. If they fail to achieve results, they won't have to think about the princess, because then everything will end quite quickly. The heroine feels a strange feeling. A chill runs through her body, which makes her shudder. The girl has a bad premonition about what awaits her in the future. The fox forces herself to concentrate. Nothing will happen. These are just thoughts, which means she must train the more magic there is inside. The more it will be used, and then she will be able to use magical items. The heroine thinks that perhaps in the future, she will be able to master magic at a slightly higher level. Charlotte brings a ticket to the opera, and among other guests, the daughter of the Marquise Litteron will be at the ball. The little girl promises that she will come, but she needs to get ready. She immediately runs to find Zion. She didn't have to look for long. A man is standing on the threshold. Only his expression is displeased. It seems that the girl has been quite busy lately. They only see each other during meals and before bed. The green-eyed man thinks that this is too little time. The hero assumes that since Sonia and Charlotte appeared, he automatically became unnecessary. The princess laughs. Are you really jealous of me towards them, or am I wrong? Zion turns away. He can't answer. However, it's written all over his face. He's been looking upset lately. Aristella has prepared something interesting for him. The young man gave himself away with his reaction. There is nothing left to do but ask a question. It turns out that Charlotte got hold of an invitation to the banquet. This is a good opportunity. Taking the piece of paper, the hero peers at it. Getting a ticket is no easy task, but it must be admitted that Dahlia is an amazing person, since she has so many connections. Henrician doesn't want to go, but the princess needs his help, so they have to get ready. The outfit turns out to be too pretentious, but certainly not for Aristella. There is no such thing as too much luxury. Lisitsa approached the preparations thoroughly. She has an important event ahead of her, and for the first time, she will be able to see Charlotte on the big stage. She wants to show her admiration, even through her clothes. There is a girl in the hall, surrounded by many high-ranking people. It seems the lady feels comfortable in their surroundings, something she would never have dreamed of before. Noticing that the main guests of the evening have arrived, Delia comes over to greet the Duke. She wishes him a good time, as the main performance is about to begin. After observing her friend for a long time, the fox understands that Charlotte is delighted with all the attention that is being given to her. Someone says that they heard rumors about Aristella's things being sold at auction. The blue-eyed woman tenses up. She thought the rumors were lying, but it turns out that they are not. The things are undoubtedly of excellent quality, but the price is also appropriate. They are jacking her up. The girl intervenes. She wouldn't mind a couple of things, so she asks where the events are taking place. It's a delicate topic, but the aristocrats will be thanked for the information. The fox looked around until she came across another familiar face. Greta the maiden remembers her, because they too spent a fair amount of time together. Dahlia comes up behind her. She needs to explain she intends to invite Greta and Layla later to spread as many rumors as possible about the lady. There is a lot of enthusiasm inside. The help is small, but the heroine wants to provide it. In fact, as it turns out, the rumor about the underground auctions was spread by Layla. They say that at one of the events she allegedly overdid it with wine. Despite everything, the princess would never have made such a mistake. Only the Marquise could have done that. After that incident, the sale of the items remained a secret, only formally. Greta is definitely involved in what happened. The lady cannot have such interesting information. Their relationship is quite interesting. Layla turns to the lady only when she needs something. The red-haired one is completely different. She sincerely cares about her younger sister. Although it seems it should be otherwise, Charlotte promises that she will find answers to all questions. It won't be difficult to gain trust. You just need to gossip, thereby finding out information. The blonde does not dare to mock. A bit of a joke can be heard in her words. The woman promises that she will return soon. She can't help but smile, because making fun of the defenseless princess, especially in the form of a fox, is quite pleasant. There is a lingering hope that the heroine did not make a mistake in trusting her old acquaintance. No one is talking about anything interesting in the room. The social evening is the same as always. The Duke approaches to announce that he will be leaving the hall for a short while. He has brought the lady to the event that is enough Sonia, as a personal servant, will look after Aristella. His lordship doesn't know if he'll be able to return back. If nothing works out, he'll have to return to the estate on his own. The performance begins the culmination of the evening. People around will enjoy how beautifully Charlotte sings and looks. She comes out on stage when it all starts. People around gasp in admiration every time they are amazed by the wonderful performance. The fox is also delighted, however she begins to suspect something. As far as is known, the owner of the theater is mired in gambling debts, and he has incurable problems with this. It is not clear where the man got the money to hold such a luxurious banquet, including an opera. He cannot afford anything like that, but he gathered all the people. The girl notices another discrepancy. Charlotte's performance began earlier than scheduled. This is a cover-up. Dark magicians may be involved in this matter. A little later, Aristella goes to her friend to tell her about her suspicions. Anger begins to appear inside. The very fact that someone is taking advantage of the opportunity infuriates her. The man comes in saying that it's time to go back on stage. Those who dared to ruin the evening will not get away with it. They will get what they deserve. The performance will end badly. The intermission is over. The second part of the opera is announced. The singer appears on stage again, only this time with a sword in her hands. The fox freezes. It seems to her more and more that she shouldn't have told the truth. The people in the audience are delighted. They are anticipating a performance with weapons. They have never seen anything like this before, which means this is a highlight. The princess wants to say that this is not part of the opera, but she cannot. Charlotte uses the sword against black magicians. Anyone who touches the weapon will immediately reveal their true nature. The truth will be immediately revealed. The light falls on two men. The aristocrats think that they are actors hidden among the spectators, as the lady suspected this is not a performance at all, but a cover for dark deeds. Dahlia steps to the edge of the stage. She is sorry to announce, but the performance will be over. Singing will never become a curtain for magic. Leonharp is outraged. She cannot tell everything directly. You can't drag the audience into something where they definitely don't belong. Everyone around starts whispering, not quite understanding how dark magicians appeared among them, why they need all this. The energy is thickening around them. They didn't want to drag in any extra people. But everything will be different. Nothing can be done. The shockwave scatters the aristocrats in different directions. Charlotte stands on the stage, not intending to come down. She is angry that they dared to ruin her performance. She will not leave it like this. The fox blames herself. How could she forget that she was always like this? The audience needs to be evacuated without allowing the Ians to escape. But the heroine can't use her body properly because she's locked up like an animal. The woman tries to concentrate. This is not the time to cry, even if it doesn't work. She will try until it works. Jumping, she creates a magical illusion. Piranhas scatter, which bite into the bodies of the offenders. No one understands who did this, and this drives them into a panic. It is strange that the guards appear very late. The lady ties their hands with a magic circle. Now they will not be able to use their powers against others. The knights look around the hall. No one saw who detained the magicians. There are no witnesses either. It is unclear who it could have been. The fox manages to disappear in time, otherwise unnecessary questions might have arisen. The little girl jumps for joy. It turns out that she has regained the ability to cast spells. She just managed to cast a top-notch spell. Her training wasn't in vain. Aristella understands that it is time to return. Charlotte takes her in her arms. The wizards were detained. The banquet was still over. It is sad that the situation has deteriorated. The young man spends time in the library of his estate. He left on purpose, leaving the lady alone to find a way to return the human body. It seems he succeeded. The young man remembers how it was. In the past, his father, as usual, began to leave the room, lest the duchy once flourished, but then began to decline. They worried about the master. The young man watched his father from afar, occasionally peering into the office. He understood that his condition had not changed, but was only gradually and progressively worsening. The man tried his best, because he understood that in order to save his wife, he needed to find much more information, and there wasn't enough of it even in the library. The hero constantly conducted an investigation. However, he conducted rather strange studies, because there was no ordinary familiar magic present there. He kept a magical diary in which he wrote down everything. Inside, there was information about a secret power and even transformation magic using dark forces. What the young man was looking for should be in the diary. A way to return Aristella to human form is needed. The fox sits next to the master for several hours. Not understanding why he is reading so diligently, Rowan arrives. They have problems. The magicians have decided to go on an open attack, no longer delaying or hiding. News came that a detachment suddenly attacked the knights, sent to Pruthu. One man was killed and another is in serious condition. All the magicians and healers were called there, but it is still difficult to talk about prognoses. There are many attackers, although it is not easy to assess the situation. They say that the squad was attacked by one person and not an entire squad, as it initially seemed. The fox understands that the power of the wizards is growing. The beauty is unable to understand how it happened, that she could increase her strength so quickly. She could not have expected that everything would happen so quickly. Moreover, Aristella had just disappeared in that place. The attack means one thing. The mages are declaring war, and aggressive actions will follow. Adelasia is asking for help and is asked to attend an urgent meeting of the Association of Light Mages. The man is about to go before he leaves the estate. The fox stops him. There will surely be someone who is connected with the dark forces. Please be careful. There is a commotion in the hall. There is too little information about magic. The research took place over 100 years ago. Most of it was lost due to fire. The problem is that preparation is impossible. Adelaus was not called without reason. His sources of information could be useful. Everything possible must be done to cooperate. One of the counts tells an interesting story. They say that materials on black magic were found in the princess's palace. Wessler thinks this is strange, and Brooks agrees with him. Something doesn't quite add up. Aristella was outstanding, even if she didn't want to admit it. But that's all that remains. The woman could calmly use forbidden power, because how else could Her Highness's life be in danger? For Brooks, the fact that the lady died will remain a big question mark, and he will be more inclined to believe that what happened to the princess was skillfully planned, all for hidden purposes. Keenan had heard enough. He didn't know that the association had gathered for urgent negotiations in order to slander people doing it openly. The brunette jumps up. What do you mean? The primary goal is security measures. The hero's tone also did not please. Even if he is a Grand Duke, he has no right to behave like that. There was no need to listen further. The door closes. The fox listens to what happened. She knew they would say something like that, going, there would only waste her nerves. She assumed they would point the finger at her. Lately, the girl had been genuinely enjoying her life as a fox, which is probably why she was too lazy and wasted time. But the time had come for Aristelle to return. A calm question. The Duke wants to know what the princess will do when she becomes human. For starters, she has to figure out how to accomplish this task. It seems impossible. The first thing the lady plans to do is break off the engagement with Adelasia. The man helped her a lot, which means she is obliged to repay him, at least this way, by doing the bare minimum. Rowan interrupts the conversation, not allowing the young man to object. New evidence was discovered in Pruthu. It was discovered completely by accident during the pursuit of that very magician. A note from the wizards appeared on the ground. It was intended for the princess. The woman immediately perked up. What was said looked more like complete nonsense. It is known that it was preserved, thanks to protective forces. However, the content is quite strange. It is unlikely that the note is fake. Rumors are slowly emerging regarding what was written. It is believed that Aristella's sudden disappearance was planned, and that she was in collusion with black magicians. Evidence of the connection appears one after another. The heroine is sad. She expected this outcome, although she thought that in the end, the target would be Zion in order to cause discord between the aristocrats. The heroine did not understand how she could become the new target of the magicians, because for everyone she was dead, that person knew everything about her, which meant that this was the man with whom Leonharp fought for the last time. Then he asked the girl why she remained so stubborn, because there was no certainty that anyone could understand her. They only communicated with her for material gain. One day, they would betray her at any moment. He laughed, believing that there was no such couple as the emperor's daughter and Justice. It was much better if it was possible to live as one wanted. However, everything suited her that day. The man promised that when words became reality, she could find him. The magician was vile and disgusting all the time. Charlotte asks why the lady is so calm after hearing nonsense. It's completely illogical. The girl's cousin doesn't even have magic, but he still stood his ground, and the princess just gives in. She's angry. It's impossible to believe that she's being bullied again. The other magicians began to demand a search of the mistress's palace. If this continues, it will happen. The fox agrees without hesitation. Let them search for whatever they want. Sonia also intervenes. You need to understand that even if there is nothing in the girl's chambers, the dark wizards will come up with some nasty tricks, the princess reassures. Don't worry, on the contrary, they won't be able to do anything. Even during the search, no one speaks up for the mistress. A woman steps forward and is the only one to declare that despite the fact that magic and the sword go their separate ways for the empire, they are one. They are protection. Sophia Haveling cannot remain silent. She is not strong in magic, but she knows that Leon Harp defended the country to the end. If someone is needed, who is ready to vouch for her, it will be her. Not everyone understands why the lady stepped forward, and it's clear to everyone that black magic is involved. She's angry. But why can't I? My words aren't worth your attention. We must not forget that the people who defend the empire deserve at least respect. There should be at least a drop of shame in the subjects. They behave incorrectly and willfully. The answer is simple. The investigation is still ongoing, and when the final verdict is released, everything will be available for review. There is no longer any need for rumors. Sophia has sided with Aristella. Later, the Duke meets with Haveling. He did not expect at all that she would say every person in the empire is obliged to be kind. Considering that her grandson told one interesting story, Leighton said that when he came to the princess's castle, she was the first to notice the difficulties and offered help. One cannot pretend that one does not know about the help the young man received. Since the estate learned about the problem, everything has changed, and although Sophia doesn't really like Aristella, she is confident that she would never betray the empire. The fox smiles, she is pleased. The marquise turns her gaze to the little animal. The little one's eyes are very familiar, reminiscent of the princess's eyes. When she is in a bad mood, her anger is expressed directly. The lady is even surprised. Her grandson said that the animal is cute. Everyone gathered in the hall. Finally, it will be possible to confirm all the dirty rumors that are circulating about the emperor's daughter. First, they decide that they will reveal the recordings of the incident in which Count Wessler was involved in his youth. The man jumps up and asks that nothing be said. Also records about the case of Count Brooks were discovered. He is also against it. The night is calm. You need more evidence. You were thirsty for dirty rumors? It seems the aristocrats tried to catch the princess by the tail, but they themselves got caught. They don't understand where all the letters are that they carefully planted. Sonia had dealt with the problem in advance. Her connections in the castle turned out to be better than she thought. She managed to retrieve all the planted letters and replace them with those containing the shameful secrets of the aristocracy. Charlotte laughs. She even regrets that she didn't see their faces, but it's unclear why the lady kept all the information to herself, as if she knew that something like this could happen. Everyone thinks that since Aristella is dead, the secrets were buried with her. The search was not carried out, only with the desire to discredit honor. There is something in the castle that the mages are interested in. The Arzudi spouses were also looking for something. It is not clear what they all need. The search caused a lot of noise. The emperor says that no one should be punished. It's too late, it's easier to forget, people will gossip. But this will remain unchanged in any case. His Majesty asks his assistant to find out what the princess has been doing all this time, and he is told something more interesting. A man has appeared who claims to have seen Aristella. The discussion is heated. If the maiden is alive but hiding, it means only one thing. She is connected with dark magic. This is direct proof, nothing else is needed. Someone speaks out against it. But if this is not so, and the princess is innocent, the investigation still needs confirmation. The count speaks coherently, as if no one understood what he meant. It is important that the young man believes in the lady's innocence. However, he has no reason to object. The emperor agrees with the proposal. The investigation will continue. The fox read the news. It was not at all comforting. His Majesty approved the following actions. He is always suspicious. He did not even show it. The beauty is sad that her older brother still cannot trust her as expected, but it hurts. Leonhardt makes decisions based on the political interests of the country. The family relationships are terrible, even in other empires. There are rumors about how bad everything is, so the issue of resolution was hardly discussed at length at the table. The young man cannot say how things are, because it will upset the woman even more. There is only one conclusion. They are obliged to protect the empire to convince everyone that Leonhardt the Younger was against magic. It's time to tell the story. The Duke wants to know what happened the day the girl disappeared. She limits herself to one sentence. I fought a mage, then turned into a fox, that's all. Exhaling with dissatisfaction, the brunette says that he expects a different answer. He doesn't know the reason for the constant evasion of a full answer. He wants to hear about why the lady lost on the battlefield. Details matter if a girl keeps them quiet. She won't be able to come back and still be a princess. She shrugs, no need for that. Most likely she won't be able to take her place on the throne, again becoming human again, and telling everyone about everything won't help as a fox. She sees a different world she won't like looking through the prism of being human again. Aristella understands that the man is right. She will be able to clear his name, but she does not want to reveal the truth for the sake of returning, because she does not see the point in this. On the day when black magicians first destroyed her life, with the way they acted, the girl made a promise that she would at least protect herself from the pain she had to endure. She did not want to remember the moment of loss. The fox doesn't know if other people will believe her, just as the Duke doesn't know if the lady can survive something like that when the young man gets hurt and leaves her. The young man doesn't understand how to proceed. There is something about Leonhardt that remains a mystery, and he is confused by the fact that the lady cannot trust him and prefers to cope alone. Before he wouldn't even try to understand her, but everything changed. Rowena is sent to Prutka to find out everything. Nothing should be missed about the day the lady disappeared. Even the most insignificant information. Soon they all arrived at the scene. They were instructed to cooperate, even if it was not necessary. The man took Anessa with him, and not only a boy was watching them, they asked not to pay attention. He was talking nonsensical nonsense, doing this on a regular basis. The young man continues to assure that he is telling the truth. He really did meet the princess, and does not understand why they do not want to believe him. The knight snorts. The guy is so small, but he already knows how to lie. He will not be able to outwit the squad. The woman comes to pick up the child. She asks for forgiveness. Noting that he is still very small, does not know what he is saying. It is strange that he does not listen, and makes her worry they would rather go home. Everyone around him was whispering and looking at him with displeasure, believing that the young man was thinking incorrectly if he thought that Aristella was fighting the mages and not being with them. He was offended that they thought that way about the girl. Rowan approaches the boy, stating that they want to hear his story. Later he arrived at the estate to report information from Pruthu. He brought with him the child who was the last to see the princess. Considering what has become known about that day, he was lucky to survive the incident. The boy's story coincides with already known facts. However, there are moments that no one had previously guessed. Rowena is thanked. He did a perfect job. All that remains is to meet in person. The man does not understand nothing. Good will come of this, the brunette greets the boy. It looks more like a threat than a greeting. The youth is shaking with fear, cowering. He reciprocates. He is glad to meet the hero, needs to be told what he has already told the master's assistant. The fox is present. She is angry with her friend. He needs to sit down so that he is not feared. He cannot hang over like a rock, thereby greatly frightening the child. She could not even imagine that in Pruthu someone would be for her. The boy is told that there is no need to worry, in which case he asks to be allowed to hug the lady. He remembers what happened. Her Highness saved his life. He owes her everything. That day, he and his parents were collecting medicinal herbs, and he was a little further away from her. The woman was fighting with a stranger in a cloak, noticing that, although she thought that nothing could surprise her anymore, the situation had noticeably changed. The heroine wanted to know who the man really was. He did not want to reveal his identity. Shrugging his shoulders, he said that he was just a magician. She did not believe him. Okay, if so, I will find out everything myself. Of course the young man is good, But the princess is better. She has more abilities. She studied magic for years. Having broken the shield, she was going to attack further. But then she noticed the child. Realizing that the boy needs to be saved, Aristella rushes towards him. The enemy smiling remarks that one should not be distracted during a fight. Even in targets at that moment, a stream of dark magic pierces right into the back. The baby closes his eyes, but when he opens them, he realizes that the problem is over. The woman asks him not to worry. First, she will send him to a safe place. She asked him not to tell anyone about what happened, all for safety reasons. The boy would remain all right, only if the hero obeyed. The princess ordered to forget about everything and calmly carried him away from the battlefield. The body is completely weakened. The woman understands that it is her time to hide. However, the spell, unfortunately, has completely exhausted its power. It is impossible to end life in one place. Even the simplest spells will be considered good, only if you try to perform them. The lady was able to hide. She was told that she would not get far anyway. She only had enough strength to turn into a fox. At that moment, the magician gave the princess the last gift. She felt a strange feeling. The boy's parents, after what happened purely out of fear, kept the incident a secret. No matter how they kept it hidden from everyone, magic was also cast, so that no traces would remain. Having spent all her strength, the lady woke up in a body that became a trap for her. The young man came running immediately when he heard that the princess was being searched for, but it took quite a long time since he lived far away. He regretted and apologized because he thought he was late. What happened put the child in danger. The fox had no other options but to ask Henrition. She would need to make sure that the family would be safe. The Duke would make sure that no one would harm them. After the conversation, the young man asks questions. The lady should have understood that if she was worried, she could ask for help. The ringing of a clock is heard in the corridor, and the heroine asks to stop. In fact, the girl always trusted the man. Everything without a doubt. Aristella wants to say something else, but the Duke cannot concentrate because the human form of the beauty is clearly visible before him. A second later, the fox's body is visible again, which makes one feel lost. Perhaps it all just seemed that way. The princess continues to mutter about how she did the right thing. The heroine is embarrassed. She is ashamed to death. One can only admire her. The girl risked her health and her body to save a stranger's child. Not many in the Empire can boast of having done the same. I remember the attack on the Marquis of Haveling. The secret funeral of the Duke's parents was also led by the lady each time she made a choice, and each time she chose to save other people. The man understands that he doesn't know the princess at all. He heard that the beauty deceived the maids and constantly ran away to the old market outside the capital. Relying on it, the young man studies the area. It turns out that everyone in the village knew that Aristella had come to them. She tried to remain completely unnoticed. However, she was recognized. They just pretended to smile. The woman hid her identity and did everything her own way. It's very much like her. The hero thinks about it. Without any reason, one day she ordered to bake bread, which she bought to give to street children. The princess bought wine several times and then drank it. The guys think that the heroine did not die. Most likely she ran away somewhere and lives there better than any of them. Once again, it becomes clear that the girl is trying to protect everyone. She is real. She is trying to show everyone that she can provide protection. Thanks to the heroine, the dispute was resolved. The boy didn't even tremble and spoke calmly. The fox nods. She didn't think it would turn out like this. The young man asks about the commotion at the banquet. After all, it was Aristella who caused it. The baby used useless magic. Her powers increased quite significantly. It was necessary. The hero declares that he found some way that will return her to her former human body. Of course, he wasn't sure what would happen next, but it was worth a try. There was a chance, after all. She wouldn't always remain an animal. Hope lights up in her eyes. She jumps on the guy, asking more questions she needs to know, in as much detail as possible, how they managed to discover the method. The hero's father had long ago studied a certain spell, so it was possible to find his notes. However, certain conditions are necessary, without which it will not be possible to bring the desired result into reality. A place full of magical energy and a powerful mage. But if Leonharp's body doesn't have enough power, it won't be able to handle the flow of magic from the spell, which will lead to the worst. The fox smiles. She assures that there is absolutely nothing to worry about if there is a chance to return. The heroine is ready to absorb as much energy as possible, only what she can. The girl probably won't be able to stay in her body for long. But even so, this is the best option. You should try at least for a short time to return. Even 5 minutes will be more than enough. The girl is placed in a circle with magic. The process, as it turned out, is quite long and will take a lot of time. The baby sadly lowers her eyes down. In fact, she has strange sensations living in the body of an animal. Was very interesting. The feeling when someone gives love is unforgettable. It's been so long, the lady has never experienced it. When she returns to her body, all this will end. But even so, there is no choice left. The beauty is forced to return to her previous image in order to continue the search for her parents' killer. Aristella is sucked into a funnel. Everything ends. She loses consciousness. But very soon, through the veil, she hears the voice of a man who is trying to call her. It seems that nothing has happened. The young man says that the changes will happen gradually. Everything is fine. They are trying the spell for the first time. Nothing will happen if nothing works. The lady will be lying if she says that she is not upset, but the method definitely exists. At night, the metamorphoses began. The brunette slept until he realized that a bright light was shining nearby. Zion thinks that the fox was having a nightmare, but then from under the blanket, the princess's face appears. The blonde carefully examines her fingers. She cannot believe it is real, and then coming to her senses asks for clothes to be brought. The duke goes out the door, his heart beating wildly with joy and excitement. The woman sits in bed for 30 minutes. Anger begins to overwhelm her too long. Someone comes inside. At first the lady is scared, but she realizes that Henricion is standing in front of her. The young man moves backwards without turning around. First he asks her to get dressed. He couldn't bring anything comfortable, no pants, no dress. The duke explains that he couldn't just go and pick up the clothes, he just tried to quickly grab what he found in his closet. And even if it's not very comfortable, he still needs to get dressed, so as not to be left naked. Initially, the man was going to go out to let her get dressed, but still decided to stay in the room and wait. After about 5 minutes of fluttering, the girl finally pulled her shirt on, rolling up the long sleeves. Zion helps to fix the hem. He begins to understand that the magic turned out to be quite effective. After all, it just has its own time of action. You need to be careful. It is not yet entirely clear how long the magic will last. The brunette asks to extend her hand to tuck in her sleeves completely, a task the beauty hasn't been able to handle since the very beginning. The young man has always been bigger, and Aristella small. She'll have to be patient, and then they'll find better clothes. Henricion, as usual, is incredibly caring. The princess is tired of magic, they recommend. She gets some rest, the woman exclaims, because she does not understand how they will sleep together. Instead, the man decides that he will sleep on the sofa. He manages to move there just before the beauty decides to give up the bed. The sofa looks narrow. I'm not sure if he is comfortable. At night, the princess can be a happy person. There is a special atmosphere in the air. So much time has passed since she last walked on 2 legs, not on 4 legs like an animal. The girl plans to repay Zion and Syrian. They took care of her, and always picked out great outfits for which she can only sincerely thank. And besides, half of her strength has returned. The heroine uses her powers fully, enjoying what her new old body presents to her. Kanan appears. He convinces that now the girl has everything she wanted to get over the past 6 months. The princess's hair has become longer. I wonder if her arms have also become larger. Perhaps this is a mistake. The beauty looks forward. A wonderful view opens up before her. The starry sky is even more captivating. It's been a long time since he's been able to relax like this. Enjoy the moment, without rushing or worrying. People only appreciate things when they lose them. The brunette agrees. He didn't know this when everything he needed was always nearby. The duke realized too late how precious some people and moments were to him. He needed to protect them. Zion is sweet again. It's an unusual trait he doesn't know, but because of what he can be, he became Aristella's first love. The girl is thrilled to remember her sincere feelings that she experienced when everything happened. The young man reaches out his hand immediately, pulling it back out of habit, almost stroking her head like a fox. The topic needs to be changed. The duke calmly asks about the beauty's first love. The blonde's face lights up scarlet. She doesn't know why the conversation suddenly turned to your delicate story. Fear makes her start to hiccup. Her Majesty understands that there was no need to remain alone, agreeing they return to the estate where Sonia meets them. She has not greeted the Lord properly for a long time, and that is exactly what she does. From now on, they will support each other. The maid is crying. There are too many feelings inside to contain. Charlotte also comes out. She was wondering if Aristella has grown since their last meeting. The woman saw the girl with her own eyes, so she is getting ready to leave. Everything is in her style. She never wanted to spend time with other people, especially when she was pretty tired. Sony reports that she managed to meet with the person who usually helped her in the Imperial Palace. They say that the atmosphere there is getting tense and gradually worsening. A lot is happening, especially with His Majesty. He is behaving strangely. Even the official schedule has been shortened. They said that if you come, you will still have to leave earlier than expected. There are rumors among the servants that the master has changed more than he could. The way he behaves raises too many questions. However, over the past month, he has become more and more insane. The princess recalls the time when she still lived in the castle. The young man seemed to be fine. Yes. Although the brother despised his sister, he never allowed himself to limit her in all her needs. The blonde declares that she wishes to see the king. There will soon be a charity evening due to the military offensive on the territory of Narent, and the reception will be hosted by the emperor himself. Raising funds before the offensive is not the only goal of the charity evening. The grand event is dedicated to the courage and self-sacrifice of the knights. Every time different things are presented, they are judged according to the criteria. Every time Adelasia and the princess fought for first and second place, not giving in to each other. Since it is connected with the war, even the emperor cannot appear without a special reason. Something happened while the lady was missing, and it is not clear whether the ruler can still retain his powers. Henricion ponders what he will sacrifice. He suggests that the lady choose something for him, since the option will remain a varied amount. All this time, the Grand Duke's family donated precious magical stones or jewelry. It was polite to let the princess choose who could do nothing, because she was left without her rights. The little girl smiles, noting that she will choose something incredibly expensive, and most importantly, larger in size. Zion shrugs. That's what a charity evening is, for you can take whatever you want. The young man doesn't understand what the lady could possibly take away. He doesn't have anything like that. She makes him cry out in surprise when she takes a toy fox from the shelf. He asks with displeasure if she's making fun of him. His childhood toy was incredibly precious. The hero carried it around with him all the time. It was important to him. After all this time, he made a mistake again, allowing Hara to choose whatever she wanted. It was wrong. The young man made the doll because he couldn't see the fox and missed her very much. He is happy that the girl will always be there because now she lives in his estate. Later, the hero asks if the girl is really planning to stay at the charity event until midnight. They say that the event will last until the morning, but if someone sees, questions might arise. The princess assures that she will be careful. There is no need to worry, the little one has the perfect plan. It is probably absurd and strange. There was something in common between the incidents with the magicians. They were all connected. It becomes clear what the lady is talking about. Something like this only happens to aristocrats from His Majesty's circle, and although it is dangerous, it is necessary to check the ruler's condition and make sure that he has not become ill. The young man promised that if things got out of control, he would definitely help as expected from the emperor. The charity evening was organized in the best conditions. People from different classes gathered in one place. Merchants, prosperous and ruined aristocrats. Despite the large number of people, the atmosphere was quite oppressive. Many thought that negotiations were possible, but it turned out to be a war. Even if they won, the empire would have little benefit. The princess becomes sad until she disappeared. The situation was fine. It is not clear why the war was started, so suddenly everyone is asked to gather to greet the master. The young man steps forward. The country's defense must always be strong, and the empire must be strong. The duty of every citizen of the empire is to make their contribution to help to strive for the good of the country. The speech is different from other speeches about victims. The girl's brother would never say such a thing. One of the aristocrats comes forward. He cannot find out whether his son is alive or dead at the border. He asks for help, but the only answer is cold. Go away. His Majesty turns to leave. The lady begins to understand that the situation is worse than expected. The conversation turns to a new case. Many have already breathed about it, but they want to know more details. Viscount Diaclin asks, to wait a little, he will definitely announce everything a little later. The young man will do everything in his power to help the empire. Someone offers a drink to the guest of the evening. Fake laughter and riches are disgusting, but something is definitely wrong. Charlotte nods. She meets a man for the first time, but you can't say that he is unpleasant, on the contrary. Someone notices the lady and starts whispering that she shouldn't have been invited. She suddenly intervenes. Talent is the most valuable sacrifice. She will be the first to receive the greatest recognition. The charity auction begins this time. It seems there will be a lot of donations, but His Majesty gave little money. Viscount Diaclin donates a very special thing. The young man will show why cherry blossoms seem extraordinary. There are many flowers around. Aristocrats gasp at how beautiful it is. They ask questions. How did you do it? Special things can be created without magic, and that is the main charm. The man holds out a beautiful ball, and the person in charge of the auction exclaims, indeed, an unusual thing has appeared before everyone. The bidding begins. The price reaches 45 million. Everyone wants to get their hands on the thing. The fox looks at the man. It's surprising if there really is no magic there. Next up, Duke Adelasia will go. The little girl is not ready to change her mind. She handed over the toy. No one had ever seen anything like it. The thing was made by Zion himself, back in his distant childhood. People around are whispering, noticing the similarity between the toy and the fox sitting on the shoulder. It seems his lordship has loved animals since childhood. The first bet is already there. This is the biggest bet, 60 million. No one wants to bid higher. But it is not clear who offered so much money for the toy. The gentleman counts to 5, and then shouts that the lot has been sold. The time comes to announce who bought the fox. The buyer, as expected, turned out to be the same one who brought the item, namely Adelasia. Henrikion completed the auction beautifully for the benefit of the empire, a stunning spectacle. The young man couldn't give away his favorite thing to someone. Aristella can't help but laugh. There were some unpleasant moments at the event, but thanks to Zion, she was able to calmly have a great time. Later, the girl went in search of the master. She does not understand where her brother went. It is quite difficult to approach the royal palace or bedroom. The woman finally finds the hero. He's sitting on a bench in the garden. It seems as if he is sleeping. The magic thickens. A man in a cloak appears today. Everything went well. I'm sure the owner will be pleased. The blonde orders her to get out and not tell him what to do. The stranger snorts. It took her a long time to come to her senses. The man is strong in spirit, but even so, they will deal with him. His Majesty still has many important things to do, which means that the spell is cast on him again. The magicians need to get what they are hunting for. Until they complete the plan, the man is better off not coming to his senses. The woman disappears. The emperor is left completely alone, not moving at all, staying in one place. The girl is worried she can't just leave, but she certainly doesn't plan to leave her brother in a terrible state. A maid can be seen in the distance. She can call her. The heroine throws a blanket to lure the maid. She wants to pick up the thing, bumping into the emperor, and realizing that he is in a trance, the brunette calls for help. It became clear that the gentleman had been bewitched. His thoughts and actions were being controlled by powerful black magicians. This type of magic has many limitations, and it requires a lot of time and effort. The terrible curse cannot be completely removed. There are records of violent destruction. If a person forces his mind to clear his mind, will become confused, and due to the collapse, he will die. The imperial palace hid the information out of fear, despite the potential harm it could cause, and the woman laments that she was losing precious consciousness all this time. All this time, the woman used magic, considered herself talented, but was unable to save even part of her family. Aristella does not understand what to do next. Zion catches up with the princess. He asks if she is okay. There are tears in his eyes. The emperor is enchanted by black magic. All this time, he was a puppet of the wizards. The brunette tries to calm the girl down. He has never seen her so broken. She understands how hard it has been for her brother all this time. If only she had found out earlier. The beauty is breaking down. She cannot be calm. His Majesty was dared to brainwash with black magic. We only just found out about this, but it is almost too late. It is for this reason that the princess needs to try to come to her senses. She cannot make important decisions while in a terrible state, otherwise it will end badly. The tears never stop. The princess is always like this. She shows her pride all her life, but when something important happens, she can't pull herself together. She's useless. The little girl remembers how once in her distant childhood, she spent time with the whole family together. She practiced magic and asked to trust her. The lady believed that she had the opportunity to become even stronger, and then she would be able to protect those dear to her. She wanted to help her brother while he ruled the kingdom. Zion is trying to bring the lady to her senses. There is no point in behaving like this. She has him now. There is almost no strength left, but not all is lost. Something else needs to be done to complete the job. It's time to start dealing with the mages and all their ilk. The lady doesn't understand what benefit the sorcerer got from the battle, but it happened because there was a wizard in the emperor's entourage. It is no longer possible to trust everyone in the castle. As before, the blonde gets up from the ground, now that she feels a little better. She can go for a little walk to be alone. Nothing will happen to her if you think logically. Everything is still ahead. The princess planned to go to the hall, but did not say what exactly she would do. The gentleman looks tired. They say there are ridiculous rumors about ghosts. Everyone was shouting loudly that the princess is alive and asking for help, or rather protection from the owner of magic. Rowan leaves, and the Duke goes to his room, where he sees Aristella. The maiden did not plan to frighten people. Initially, she did not notice the Emperor's condition since everything happened after death. Everyone is concerned about the sudden appearance of the deceased. It is surprising and annoying that the Imperial Palace is silent. But first, we need to deal with those who reacted strongly to the return of Aristella. The Duke looks at the lady and sees everything herself. She is joking. It is wonderful that he noticed the fact that she knows how to think. Leonharp did everything perfectly, from beginning to end. For one reason, the young man will always be near the girl. If people see those who have already been killed, the reaction will be immediate. Disagreements arise among concerned people. If this happens, the princess's reputation will suffer again. However, this is completely unimportant. What is important is how things will go for the entire kingdom itself. One of the lady's things has already been put up for auction. Charlotte reports this. It's great. We need to get there. We need to start preparing. Blue-eyed is an informant. Last time she was asked about it, she heard something else. The person selling that thing from the palace is Lady Greta. The heroine guessed who they were talking about, because after her disappearance, she spread her wings like a butterfly that was transformed from a cocoon. It is unknown whether the lady is a black witch. Nothing is known yet. Perhaps she simply decided to take everything from the situation, for her own benefit, started selling things, or someone is using her. The auction was going according to plan. Leonharp was afraid it would be cancelled, but the number of participants only increased, as the lady had said. The blonde had predicted that with the rumors there would be excitement. The woman is obliged to show up at the house where the event is taking place. This time the plan is flawless, which means the beauty will try her best getting what she expects. Henrikion is ready to help Dahlia herself, plans to pay for everything. Although you wouldn't know it from looking at her, she is quite a capable person. It's time for active preparation. The blue-eyed one is painting the princess. When people see a face full of hatred, they will have a panic attack because she is dead. Having adjusted her image, the woman smiles. The effect will definitely double if the heroine moves in a peculiar way, looking at her reflection. Aristella nods. I like everything. The woman looks as if she is a ghost. Her makeup is reminiscent of a dead person, perfectly fitting into her beautiful image. Running up to Henrikion, the beauty allows him to stroke her head, as if she herself wants it, although she is no longer in the body of a fox. Officially, only Charlotte will be present at the auction. She intervenes in the conversations to spread more interesting information. Everyone knows why the princess's things are on sale. Each piece of jewelry is a family heirloom and must be carefully watched and kept under close observation. While Dahlia reminds everyone of the princess's existence, Zion secretly brings the fox onto the stage. She transforms, taking on a different image. The event begins, and the host steps forward. They even got an invisible cape that can only be used a few times. The girl must definitely repay the boy. The main thing is that everything works out. The presentation of Aristella's thing begins. The hero uses magic on purpose. Fog suddenly appears, Everything goes at the highest level. As in previous times, people scream because Leonharp appears in front. It immediately becomes clear that it is a ghost. Charlotte, sitting in the hall, asks if others really see the person she sees. Nothing many are afraid that what happened is connected to their past. The blonde adds fuel to the fire. It's strange that only a few people see the ghost. If a person dies while harboring a grudge, he returns to the world of the living to take revenge. Not everyone understands why the princess is angry with them. One of the aristocrats declares that she has nothing to fear, she has no reason. Charlotte smiles, agreeing that they didn't do anything wrong. The whole problem is probably the dead princess's bad plans. Everything is going as it should. The plan is working. The princess, even after everything was over, tried to scare Zion. He asks her to stop. Although the little girl still wants to see scared faces again, despite her objections, the man asks her to come over and wipes her face. She understands that the mission is accomplished, because at least Greta's people will show a reaction. Later, she will have to wait and see how everything goes. The Duke clarifies he is interested in whether the lady is involved in black magic, even if this is not the case. The heroine is sure that the former assistant definitely did something to incur the lady's resentment. Later rumors spread more, saying that the woman was appearing in different corners of the imperial palace for the sake of the peace of the empire. A memorial evening would be held to honor the sad Aristella. People are unhappy. They are not happy with the fact that the lady, even after she has already died, continues to bring problems. A lot of time has passed, but no one has changed. Everyone unfortunately hopes for Leonharp's real death. They have nothing else in mind. Sion is saddened by this realization. Although for a woman, it makes no difference what people think of her. The lady has the power on her side, which means she can continue as long as she has energy left, and the second act of the performance begins. The Duke steps forward. He wants to contact the princess to talk like an old friend. He wants to add something. It would be nice to go to the imperial palace. Everyone is scared, but for no reason, Greta knows this. She follows the corridor of the castle. She hopes that the city will not appear in front of her because she does not consider herself guilty. The girl was caught off guard. People appeared behind her and asked what she was doing in a closed room. Clutching her dress with her hand, the heroine tried to calm down, but she felt bad. As it turned out, the woman fell into a trap. She is smart and could have realized it earlier. However, something got in her way. Unfortunately, it is too late to try to change anything. The event actually had two purposes. Firstly, to console Her Highness the Princess, and secondly, to discover the hiding dark mages. Immediately after the incident with Count Arzuti, access to the palace became controlled by magic. It was impossible to allow anyone else to try to get into the mistress's chambers. The spell was lifted only for the evening in honor of the princess's funeral. Incredible. But this is a lucky opportunity for dark magicians. It turns out that Greta is one of them, since she is trying to get into the castle. People are surprised. The redhead tries to justify herself. She studies magic, but not dark magic. Many of those present witnessed how the lady boasted about her skills. The beauty doesn't know what else to say. She really did study the basics of magic when she was in the estate and served the princess. A determined person can learn everything through training. The girl hadn't mentioned it when the mistress was with them, but they started bragging at Marquise Ordain's tea ceremony, something that rarely happens, and she was told that abilities are revealed late. The Duke steps forward. He wants to take a look. He wants to understand what powers Greta really has, but he can't object. Using a scan, the brunette checks and declares that the lady has almost no magic, which raises even more questions about why it was necessary to come to the castle. But one thing is known. The princess disappeared while fighting off the black magician. Moreover, the woman secretly entered the castle despite rumors of a ghost. This is suspicious. No one stood up for Greta. She needed money to make something happen. Bowing her head, the heroine admits that she secretly took Aristella's personal belongings and sold them. She had been there for a long time, dedicated her youth to the lady, and it was normal that she wanted a reward. It turns out that the position of the Marquise Le Terran was strengthened thanks to stolen goods, and therefore she was able to transform herself and live her best life. Of course, Greta was the child who tried her best. To be the best, she dedicated herself to the study of magic. But even so, she cannot be spared. The lady is obliged to return everything that she obtained dishonestly. Lateron will be held accountable, although in the end, nothing was found that would prove any connection with the dark magicians. The princess believes that, even so, everything went well. They latched on to an important detail, namely, the Marquise. Greta has nothing to do with what is happening. The same cannot be said about Lateron. His story is shrouded in mystery. Charlotte is surprised. Did the lady really lie to our faces? No one knows the truth. However, all this time, the girl was in league with the magicians. No matter what she claimed, doubts were confirmed. Something needs to be done. Sophia shares the information that the Marquis contacted Leighton directly. He wanted to learn magic, and the lady asked a friend, but the young man refused, saying that he would study with the great count. The Marquis pressured Patrick, denying the idea of a magic academy. They spent a lot of time together. The fool got himself into trouble. Based on Madame's story, Lateron also contacted the hidden magicians from the Imperial Palace. If used, it would be possible to reach the dark magician who would reveal himself. Sonia clarifies whether it is really possible to control the Marquise. The princess is confident that they will do it. We will lure one person to our side. Greta is a great option. A ticket to the future. She must be filled with anger. It is necessary to convince her, and for this, Aristella will meet with her in person. The lady is going to overcome herself and show her true appearance, so that the heroine can believe her, otherwise nothing will work. The blue-eyed girl is surprised that a princess has come to visit her. She is curious, however. First of all, she needs to ask the most important question. Why did you come here? Sitting down, the blonde clarifies, because she knows that Greta already has guesses, even if it was not previously known that the Marquis family is a male to black magicians. The woman wants the maiden to betray her family and father, although betraying the Marquis and the family is not the same thing. The lady did not follow the instructions because of warm relations. The redhead nods. All this time, she obeyed only for the sake of her own advancement. She does not understand why she must give up everything. Aristella understands that the heroine will not be able to change anything in a positive, good-natured, and gentle way. The eldest daughter of the later family cannot like such a thing. Even if the woman hates the princess, the proposal is a chance to change everything. The beauty's desires seemed unattainable from the very beginning. Layla humiliated the girl, and her mother did the same at every opportunity. Despite this, she had to try to please and smile stupidly so as not to spoil anything. The beauty wanted to gain status, and since betrayal was not enough, she would be able to take revenge on the one who caused her mother to become ill and die. It's all over now. A few days, the heroine hasn't asked questions about how to fix the situation. Her Majesty didn't figure in the plans at all. It's funny that the princess wants to give another chance, even after what happened. In any case, nothing can be changed with such an offer. There is nothing to be afraid of at all. Charlotte doesn't understand why the lady decided to take this step. Greta changed her mind, and suddenly, it would be better to assign someone to her in order to keep an eye on her. The blonde herself doesn't understand how it will be better for them, but perhaps they can trust. The heroine didn't know that there was so much pain and wounds in Lateron. Until now, the heroine looked at her through her prejudices. Because of the prejudices that had driven the princess into loneliness and sadness, Greta probably felt the same way, left completely alone, lost in the world. The Marquis feels sorry to throw away the archives, but if he is caught, then it seems that not only his status, but also his life is in danger. His daughter has ruined everything, made a mistake, because she was afraid of some ghost. If everything is left as is, then this will become a confirmation of the affairs. With black magicians, the gentleman decides to inquire about the girl's well-being. She left the room, but only once. The man orders to tell his daughter to come to him, that she needs to get rid of useless cards. He does not possess dark magic, but he has connections with wizards. Greta needed to find something, but if she was noticed, the situation would be difficult. The Marquis calls his daughter to him. He smiles when he sees her, although it is false. The woman was entrusted with family affairs, and it seems that next time she will need guarantees, because in the end, she made everyone doubt when nothing worked out. For the good of the family, the ladies will work with their heads. There is nothing dangerous unless he tries to betray his family, so there is no reason to resist. It's a terrible feeling, a young man tells his own daughter, to become a doll, without her own opinion. They tell her that this is the only way to trust her with family matters. Great, then, in return, I'll ask for something else. The beauty trusts her father. It is not he who wants to brainwash her. It is impossible to do this without preparation. She wants to meet the dark magician in person. One must be careful that they will try to change their thoughts. They need to tell about the deal with the princess. Greta is obliged to make an informed decision about whose side she wants to take what she wants to achieve. Soon a response from the lady arrives at the estate. She has made a decision, but does not tell what she wants, and suggests an urgent meeting that night. What's suspicious is that the meeting place wasn't chosen by chance. First of all, they need to find the dark magician, no matter how dangerous it will be, because suddenly that place will contain what the heroine is looking for. Sonia says that she will go there too. The lady knows that she cannot use magic, but she is quite skilled in wielding a sword, which means she can provide assistance. The father tells his daughter that as soon as everything is finished, he will entrust the affairs to her. The gossip in high circles should not be paid attention to. Soon, no one will be able to ignore the Lateran family. The maid is worried that they were lied to and will fall into a trap. First, they need to step away, but the mistress refuses. It is too early to judge. The Duke reports that he has made arrangements with knights, who, if anything happens, can protect their squad. Someone is coming, a hooded man shrouded in magic. The stranger casts a spell on Greta, so that she does not dare to renounce her father, an ominous smile on her face. The princess wants to rush forward, but Adelasia stops her, reminding her that she must not move one awkward movement, and everything will be in vain. Greta grabs the wizard's hand with her hand. She makes him stop, and then the moment comes when the Grand Duke appears. He is the first to enter the clearing. The Marquis is confused, but then he completely loses the power of speech, because the princess appears before him. Aristella sees how the lady's body weakens and makes her wake up. The woman picking up the lady in her arms screams. She is very scared. What is happening is strange. The magician could have managed to control her mind with magic. Sitting down, the beauty smiles. It is better to see it in person than to read books. She doesn't care whether they would have managed to cast the spell or not. It would simply become another proof. Blue-Eyed wasn't against it, just to make her father talk. The man was amazed. How dare you betray us so brazenly? Have you completely lost your mind? The beauty is no slouch. It was the Marquis who killed his ex-wife. She knew perfectly well about the secret dealings with dark magicians. Death from illness is a lie. Finding evidence was easy. The maiden was angry with herself for not noticing it earlier. The magician ran away. Aristella followed her, trying to catch up with her as quickly as possible. They were almost in the backyard of the imperial palace. The sorceress chose to hide. She only knows how to observe, not just read minds. The Duke asks the beauty not to worry. This is not true. She is simply irritated by what is happening, not knowing what to do next, and how to get to the sorceress. The person hiding sees right through them, analyzes facial expressions, and can read thoughts. The rumors were not lying. Her Highness is a perceptive person, and it will be easy to get along with the girl. Another provocation, but the heroine does not want to give in. Even if she hides, her vile nature will still be visible. Since they can read minds anyway, the heroine will speak without thinking. The dark magician will not hide. The princess is quite predictable. Thanks to what happened, the heroine understood how she managed to penetrate consciousness. It must be difficult for someone like her to climb into a person's head. If the soul falters even a little, you can get caught, and an interesting conversation can drag on. A little more, and they will be able to establish the location. The woman hopes that the couple will enjoy a small gift. The air around is thickening. It is too late to wake up. The beauty looks around. It's as if she's floating. Everything seems far away. The Duke himself doesn't understand where they've ended up. The place looks quite familiar. The flowers blooming in the meadow look beautiful. The smell reminds me of something. Something runs through the girl. She turns to understand what happened. Aristella is visible in front, only much younger. The Duke is sitting next to her, holding his knee, which was broken, but everything is fine. It is obvious that the children do not see the adults, because they are in memories. Obviously, they can only watch from the outside to understand what the meaning is. At that time, the Duke was always following Aristella around. There is no arguing with that. He was small and weak, then so he never thought about changing. Everything has changed. If you continue watching, you will see a moment that only one person remembers. They are in someone's head. This is the only way to understand whose memories the beauty feels strange about. And these frighten her. The blonde hopes that the memories don't belong to her. Otherwise, there will be a lot of problems. She doesn't show her true emotions. I have nothing to hide. Aristella tells the boy that he is annoying sitting in the bushes. The woman begins to understand that only she knows about this, which means he is still in her head. The princess snorts, declaring to her friend that she doesn't play with weaklings. Despite this, there is one way with the help of which she will be able to become a little stronger. The heroine offers her help thanks to the method the young man will become the same as her. Then they will play again. He nods. I want to play with Lala. The brunette calls the girl by a name that is only available for family use. He is jealous because he wants to be the one who has the right to do so. Aristella wants to hide. Her little self is too awkward around people she likes, and she really liked Zion as a person. Henrician watches himself. He too feels ashamed, because he has always been timid, taking advantage of the opportunity the lady suggests, going to look at another place. She is not curious about what will happen next. The lady insists that they leave, but the man doesn't want to listen, so they have to stay. The couple sits down on the edge of the fountain in the middle of the garden. Thinking about it when it comes to friends, she likes Kanan the most. The woman struggles with jumping out and silencing herself. The young man falls asleep on his girlfriend's shoulder. He is completely tired of playing catch-up. She does not want to repeat how the lady feels. It seems that she likes him. Jumping up, Aristella justifies herself, considering this not to be first love. They simply have a sincere, friendly relationship. Hypnosis cannot be broken with magic, but she will try. There is no other way out but to knock Henrician unconscious. The brunette grins. I just saw such an entertaining scene, and you want to take it away from me? An explosion of power. They open their eyes. The woman again reminds them that she was a child. She said this because she was too young and did not understand anything. Nothing could stop the young man. He realized that he was truly the princess's first love, and it was about him that Charlotte and Sonia were discussing. I wonder why the lady will never repeat those words. The guy hated his girlfriend. And besides, it doesn't matter, too many years have passed. They will never be together, however. While in the form of a fox, it became clear that the beauty began to be disliked less, as if the relationship had changed. The memories continue. The mother finds the girl who ran away again. She replies that nothing would have happened. Zion was nearby. The boy doesn't believe that they will call him by a nickname. The lady's face lights up with a blush. They finally became friends and were able to get a little closer. Adult Henrician looks at the girl. He used to think that she had changed. But no, she remained the same as in childhood. He is not trying to insult. He is only speaking the truth. A painfully familiar voice is heard. The mother has already picked up the girl in her arms. The father and brother are approaching them. The family is happy. The weather outside is good for spending time in the garden. Tears have accumulated in the corners of her eyes. The woman does not know how to describe her emotions. She misses her parents very much back then. They were still alive, and everything was fine. Aristella doesn't want to part with her beautiful dream, but she has a mission. She needs to find the dark magician and get out into the real world. Around this time, the emperor and empress died. There is very little time left. The lady is sure that they will show her exactly how they died, but she cannot understand if this makes sense. One will never be able to forget that special day, when in one moment memories of the past came crashing down, as well as a vision of the future closely connected with magic. The lady saw what would happen to her parents, and when she came running, she begged them not to go to the inspection. The little girl said that she didn't like the fact that they wouldn't be able to see each other for a long time. Then the married couple went to check, but never returned. They were consumed by fire. Aristella did not want something like this to happen again. The girl wanted to see her parents nearby. They had to continue to look after her. Her sad future was nothing compared to the lives of the emperor and empress. The little girl wanted to protect her family from death, and after a while, her mother suggested attending a dinner party in the garden where all the noble young people would gather. Henrician was not at that dinner. He had a cold. The child was sitting and was bored. Until someone approached her, the boy introduced himself. My name is Emmett Sion. The reception was very modest, but being invited to the capital was an honor. This time, invitations were sent to all the surrounding youth. The princess feels strange, as if she had already seen the guy. She really did meet him. But after that, she managed to forget about him, because they did not spend time together. The lady wanted to leave, and finally Emmett declared that they were similar. He immediately saw people with whom he had something in common. These words made the lady freeze. She remembered. The heroine saw a man who reminded her of Sion. She fought with him on the very day when her life almost ended. Then the lady already knew that a curse had been placed on her. The young man sympathized with the lady because she was doomed to receive hatred from everyone around her. The beauty did not want to be expressed words of sympathy and ordered him to stutter. Dodging the stream of fire, the brunette gets to his feet. He tries to bring it to the climax he needs. But do you know who put a curse on you? Leonhardt wasn't sure, but if so, then it was possible to find this man, and with him a way to find happiness, to get rid of the magic, and then people would love the girl in return. Emmett smirked. His words gave the princess hope, just like he thought he knew something like this would happen. The feeling there was a connection between them. The boy's face was similar, so it was him. Aristella clenches her teeth. She feels disgusted in her memories. She was supposed to spend time with her mother, but at night she woke up because of the feeling of black energy that was creeping up on the house. The little girl jumps up, not understanding who is using the spell she needs to go out and find the source. Her heart beats faster than usual because of the worry. Jumping out onto the balcony, the princess frantically looks around. The magic seemed to burst in an instant and then disappear. The heroine freezes because she sees a stream heading towards the part of the castle of the emperor and empress. During the explosion, there was only one thought. It seemed like there was an attack from outside. It was cool and unpleasant outside, and a force seemed to permeate the entire body. It was not clear what happened. In the end, the parents were unconscious after some time having come to. They tried to console the beauty, but she did not want to calm down. Lala sat in the room all day. Even her brother asked what was wrong. The explosion remained on her mind. It happened due to the fault of the imperial couple. They were seriously affected by dark magic. The young man tells his sister that their parents have decided to go to the inspection after all, even though they promised to postpone it. The little girl jumps up sharply and runs out into the street. Lala's parents were waiting for her. She was crying, asking why they apologized for their words. They had promised that they would stay at home. The little girl hopes that they will return. The blue-eyed one understands. Her daughter would not behave like this just because of the inspection. You know something? The emperor and empress are supposed to protect the country, but their time has passed. They want to become rulers who died to protect the empire. The blonde doesn't believe it until the very end. There must be another way. She will find it. They don't even have time to tell the truth. From the moment she was born, Layla was special in the future. She will become the one on whom the entire empire will rest. It is more important that she is always happy. The empress herself wanted to see the girl grow up and be subject to her. Alas, this will not happen. Forgive us. The princess finds it difficult to watch the scene, that she could barely survive tears streaming down her face. She thinks that there is a chance. The parents' bodies are being consumed by black magic. If this is prevented, they will kill themselves. If you don't try, you will never know. The Duke grabs the lady by the hand. Nothing can be changed. It's the past, which means he'll have to turn around and leave and continue the hunt for the magician. It is clear that the memories are shown only to lure into a trap the woman knows. But Zion does not know something. The princess's parents left to die in an accident. He doesn't understand. They died in a fire. It really looked like that the building burned down completely. No body was found, so that not even a trace of black magic would remain. Only Aristella knew about what happened, so she had no one to ask how they got involved with dark magic and who was behind it. The lady could not tell anyone the truth for a very long time. All this time she suffered alone for the sake of her parents' honor. She is obliged to find out the truth. In that situation, they made the best choice. It is always very sad the girl misses the way they used to spend time. The love that the emperor and empress managed to give in a short time protects the girl until the very last moment. Being the daughter of such people, the lady is already happy this time. She will definitely protect their souls. She will do everything in her power. When the secret is revealed, the only option left is to eliminate this person, or he will keep the secret himself. The brunette promises that he will look for an answer together with the girl, so they will figure it out faster, so that the situation does not become so dangerous. The emperor's couple was special to him. The man's parents were also connected to dark magic, and he couldn't stay away. For his own sake, the Duke will not allow himself to act alone. He wishes to provide such assistance that everything will be resolved once and for all. Aristella was loved, although not for very long. These memories are enough the girl's secret, which we managed to learn was extremely surprising. The woman was always haunted by eternal hatred, but finally managed to understand the truth. Seeing herself as if those around her did not care, she tried to accept her fate. There is no such fate in the world. The Duke is obliged to prove this to Aristella, even if he has to spend his whole life on the matter. Everything around is shaking, judging by the fact that the trap affects the weakest points. Hypnosis really does depend on the will of the one it is directed at. Obviously, this is an unusual hypnosis. It seems that this world is built on something else. The picture ahead is changing. Now the princess is already 15 years old. Around this time, the relationship with his brother deteriorated. It seemed that the young man had cooled towards his sister, tired of her behavior. Previously, they had lunch together and spent time. But even this he refused. It was nothing out of the ordinary. They grew apart because the dark magicians had brainwashed him. Even then, the lady began to suspect something, but she simply accepted it as fate. The young man did not change because of hatred, if these feelings were instilled in him. Contrary to his true feelings, it is a pity that the lady realized this earlier. As sad as it is, time cannot be turned back. The most important thing is to break out of hypnosis and save my brother. To maintain space, even in memories, sufficient magical energy is needed. Strangely enough, the hypnosis does not wear off. The couple is not attacked, and the trap that could have broken them did not work. They are being held to buy time that explains everything. His Highness is alone. There is no one to protect him. No one from the family is left. It becomes clear that while the Duke and Princess are under hypnosis, the magicians plan to completely subjugate the country's ruler, completely capturing his mind. Maintaining space requires energy, but if you activate it from the inside, you can save energy, and there is a high probability that the girl next to them. It's easier to get lost in a crowd. It's the best way to be followed. You can blend in with the surroundings and not stand out. Obviously, she is among the imperial servants. The gentleman offers to quickly check everyone, but they refuse him. The girl herself can understand. After all, these are memories from her childhood. The lady does not remember the faces of all the servants, but as she grew older, they grew older, and their faces changed, all except one person. The woman looks at the maid. It is clear that something is wrong with her. It was she who came from the world to maintain the illusion. Looking forward, the heroine invites you to look into her eyes. Turning around, the brunette smiles ominously. Everything around begins to collapse. A way out was discovered. All that was needed was to identify the dark magician. The fragments fell straight down with the help of force. The Duke covered them with a shield. You want the woman to calm down quickly, for the chaos to subside for a while? Lala falls, the ground beneath her feet crumbles. She finds herself in a different place. The lady is in the place where it all began, but Henricion is nowhere to be seen, as if he had disappeared into thin air, the voice behind. And now the play has reached its climax. As expected, the Duke was magnificent. The girl can use dark magic so openly, no one will stop her. Apparently, she moved Zion to another place. He will be fine, separating them is the real goal. The Emperor's closest servant, who helped him wash, she pretended to be a servant, so it was not easy to identify her. It's surprising that the beauty understood everything. She snorts. It was obviously easy because the couple was being watched ominously. The heroine is angry with herself for not noticing earlier that the magician's expectations were exceeded. Now it's clear why they advised her to be more careful. The body has not fully recovered. It is necessary not to waste time taking off the shoes. The woman throws them forward, almost hitting the stranger. The heroine was sure that the princess was exhausted by hypnosis, and however, she would not give up rushing forward. She used magic. The brunette thinks that nothing would have worked. She thought that the mistress would not cope. You are mistaken. I am the sword and shield of the Leonid Empire. They advised me to be careful. I should have listened. Touching the princess's family was a decision that was made incorrectly. Almost everything was over, although in any case, the girl had already decided that she would die for her master and do everything that was required of her. The heroine needs to go to the emperor as soon as possible. If the magical influence on his consciousness were to suddenly cease, his body might not be able to withstand it. Aristella arrives at the castle. Aricion is already there. His will was almost broken, but fortunately, he held on. The Duke has appeared, and the dark magicians have fled. He has a strong will, he can still recover, and the end is not in sight. First, we need to take His Majesty to his chambers. The girl has become a fox again. She knows where to go, but she will be carried in arms. There is a hidden door on that side that you need to go to. It leads to the Emperor's inner chambers. The personal physician will not tell you anything. A spell has been cast on the personal doctor that prevents him from telling outsiders about the intricacies of the treatment. The master's life is not in danger. There is information on how to treat damage caused by magic. Until the man wakes up, everyone will hide it. Someone could have witnessed the recent battle. It was too loud. The baby can't get out on her own, so the Duke will take care of everything, in which case there isn't much time left. They are worried about the girl, although she is the sword of the Empire. The young man is more concerned about her striking appearance, because she looks like she is ready to attack. Even though the princess was brave, she had to go through the hardest part of all, and this is something to understand and accept. The heart fills with pity when you see how the lady tries to be strong. The Duke promises that he will definitely return back, but for now, Aristella will remain next to her brother. Charlotte later came to see her friend. She advises to go and rest a little. The fox refuses. I want to be with him. The heroine believes that she can at least close her eyes if something happens. They will wake her up. He will not come to his senses right away anyway. The handsome man can't calm down until he sees his brother getting better. She should have suspected when his attitude towards her suddenly changed. A familiar voice is heard. The blond man opens his eyes. He turns to his sister. They haven't seen each other for a long time. It's surprising. The girl is scared she can't look at him. There remains a drop of doubt that the Emperor began to avoid his sister, not because of the influence of dark magic. Lalu is taken into his arms, after which the young man loses consciousness again. The baby freezes. I'm in the body of a fox. How did he recognize me? Sion ordered the knights not to enter, thanks to which the heroine was able to avoid unnecessary attention and stay close to Leonharp. Time flies quickly. It's already a full moon. Horicion appears in the room. He asks not to worry, the man's complexion has improved. The man opens his eyes. He looks around, seeing Aristella in front of him. He is surprised she wanted to smile, but she cannot. There is a feeling of loss inside the young man, is glad to see his little sister. It means she was living well. He is happy. Lala starts to cry. She can't hold back, because she really missed the young man. She didn't even hope to see him again. The lady felt bad and very offended. The Emperor was surprised he didn't remember the princess ever being so emotional. This is the first time the heroine cries like this. Henricion agrees he has never seen his friend show any emotions at all. The Aristella, he knows on the contrary, always behaves too badly, is rude to everyone. The woman is angry, she is not shown in a very favorable light. Layla extends her hand, asking to hold her, or better yet, just hug her to comfort her so tenderly, and not watch her sister cry. The Emperor was inattentive, but in fact the heroine was not offended by him. It was painful to know that she was hated. From the very beginning, the young man protected and loved the little girl, but in the end, he left her completely alone. He is a bad brother, but he is going to improve. Whatever happens, the Emperor will try to be close. The girl extends her little finger to show that they have agreed on this. Once the promise was made, it could not be refused. The girl forgives her brother, and the horror will never happen again. Without preparation, it is very difficult to avoid such an impact on the psyche. It was lucky that everything went no worse. The time has come to tell the truth. After the coronation, the young man became emperor and inherited the national treasure. Treasures and old records dedicated to the founding of the empire, as well as several paintings that had never seen the light of day depicting the history of the nation. One of the paintings was not so simple. There was clearly something hidden in it. The legacy of the dark magicians continued. Even the barely noticeable remnants are gaining strength. The gentleman should have prepared himself, but he had no idea about magic, so he resorted to extreme measures, consciously yielding to their influence while maintaining a clear mind. The young man moved in the direction he needed to go, constantly telling himself that he needed to be careful. The Duke didn't understand why they didn't tell Aristella. She was a powerful magician. It turned out that this was impossible due to the connection with the parents, in which case the entire imperial family could be involved. He hears a cough. There is nothing to be done. All that remains is to slowly recover. He turns to the Grand Duke. Very soon they will compete as they once did. But the Emperor is worried about something else. The room is under a protective barrier. Complete isolation from the rest of the world is ensured. Even if it is hiding, this is too much. Several times the man came to his senses and saw something furry. The woman was horrified. It turns out that she was seen then. It is necessary to explain that in her true form, the girl can only arrive at night. The master will help dispel the dark magic. Zion is sad. It's understandable that the beauty feels much more comfortable with a relative. The older brother will protect her. If Aristel is assisted by a family member, she will immediately escape from the estate and head back to the imperial palace. With Adelasia, the young man wants to talk alone. He does not mention what will be discussed. He just wants to chat. The brunette tries to pull himself together. Even if the mistress leaves him forever, it is no longer her business. The young man hadn't seen them together for a long time. It seemed they were getting along well. The maiden herself asked Zion to help and find a way to fix everything. Lala knew that she could rely on him. They look at her with disbelief. Are you sure that this is the only reason? In any case, it was good that Aristella was not alone. If it had not been for Adelasia, she would never have gone so far. When Leonharp saw the two, he thought that they had hardly changed in tandem. Perhaps they loved each other choking on tea. The lady assured that this was not so. I don't want to send the girl to the Duke when they just met, but Aristella cannot stay in the palace. It's good that there is somewhere to go, besides the castle. Lala will also have the Emperor on her side, who will constantly support her. No matter what happens, the heroine can always tell him everything, and the man eagerly awaits the day when they can be together again. The brunette looks on from the side. If Aristella does not come with His Majesty, then she will remain in her castle where she belongs. The young man stood and waited, even though he knew it would happen this way, hoping for the best that the woman would leave the imperial palace. The green-eyed man becomes sad, but then he sees the ruler coming out. He attracts the fox. The Duke promises that he will return the baby safe and sound. The gentleman is asked to take care of the princess. There is no need to worry about this. She will definitely be fine, because she will be in her second home. They head back to the estate, stroking the soft fur. The man feels Aristella's presence. Anessa notices that Miss Fox is especially energetic. She has decided to no longer put up with the fact that there are people who hate her. Rowan reports that news has emerged from the imperial palace. An official statement says that His Majesty will take a break to treat a serious illness. If so, everything should have been resolved. The Duke himself received a personal letter from the Emperor. His lordship does not understand how the gentleman could send the letter. The contents must be double-checked to ensure they are correct. Thanks to the brunette's efforts, the problem with the workers was resolved. He asks what the fox eats, and a menu has been prepared for her. The hero sits down to send an official reply. The little girl also wants to write to her brother, but leaving her own handwriting is a risky undertaking. She leaves paw prints. The maids were bothering the fox. The master takes her away, sending them to work lately. She is so quiet and silent, somehow suspicious. The heroine was obviously planning some kind of trouble again. The girl ignored Henricion's words, after which the man began to follow her everywhere. The man followed the lady constantly, and then began asking questions, asking if she was okay, if everything was normal as always. Aristella assures that there is nothing to worry about. She is behaving exactly as usual. There are no problems. She does not feel bad. We're talking about the effects of hypnosis. The heroine was already cursed, and then completely fell under the influence of hypnosis. We need to be careful. The concern is justified. However it is wrong, the girl decided to behave well. Maybe that is why her behavior is a little different from usual. I don't want a woman to be hated. She thought about it when she talked to her brother. She became too early. I want to try to make people love the lady. She is a very empathetic person. But for some reason, Zion is angry at her suppression of emotions. People don't really like Leonharp, but the Duke likes her. There's surprise in her eyes. The heroine doesn't understand how this happened. The hero tries to justify himself. Kanian didn't mean that he liked the girl, but she wonders if it can be perceived in this way. The lady felt out of place. She knows that Adelasia doesn't like her. She never doubted it. As soon as Zion uttered the unfamiliar words, The woman already felt lost. He just wanted to say that it was enough to remain yourself. Sonia was told about everything she hopes, that the girl will no longer be a lonely person, before it seemed like the lady deliberately avoided everyone. The assistant is only concerned about what will happen with His Highness. Relations with the Emperor have improved, and I wonder if anything has changed with the Duke. Lately, they've been getting along so well, as if the situation were completely different. It's hard to believe that at least once the princess hasn't thought about him. Leon Harp doesn't understand what she should say. She already understands that she has never thought about a man because she has long accepted her fate and did not even hope for Sion's love. After everything that happened, the girl wants to remove the curse, having been in the body of a fox. She learned what it means to receive love. The woman doesn't know what to do. The maid suggests the best option. You can imagine that you are with the Duke together. There is nothing scary in the idea they are already engaged, but the very thought makes your head spin. The next day, the situation worsened. The blonde constantly walked around blushing. She blamed Sonia and her wild imagination for everything. In moments when everything goes wrong, it is advantageous to turn into a fox. A letter arrived from the palace, and the little girl came to the office to read it. We are talking about the Marquis of Lighterton. All members of the family took what they could and left the country, only Greta remained. His Majesty asks what to do with the woman. There is no great desire to make concessions, but still something is troubling him. At night, the princess arrived to the girl with the Duke. They had not yet finished their discussion. She poured water. There was nothing else. If you're worried about rumors, there's no point in thinking about it. The woman is keeping her mouth shut, and she won't be in the capital anytime soon anyway. Forgiveness cannot be earned just because of a one-time help. The red-haired one had been Aristella's servant for many years, so she can understand. If things had turned out differently, there would have been a different choice. But alas, Greta crossed the line, forcing the woman to reach the point of no return. It turns out that all this time, the assistant was envious of Sonia. Even though their families were similar, she always looked strong and confident. The princess was always more favorable to the brunette. She easily got what Greta could not achieve, and envy filled her body. When the maiden disappeared, she foolishly thought that this was her chance, which she absolutely had to use. But since then, a lot has changed. The same desires are no longer the same, not the same reality. Greta helped the princess not only because she wanted revenge, but also because she wanted to atone for her guilt. If Aristella hadn't come, the Marquise's family would have been broken long ago. Black magicians were working on this. There was someone who knew that everything would work out. For the sake of results, the Duke decided that it was necessary to take a risk and expose his consciousness to the influence of magic. Despite how it all ended, despite the pain, Greta believes that everything ended the way it should. The smile on her face indicates that there is nothing to worry about. Mauricien tried to catch the magician, but the Marquise made her own choice. The girl plans to leave soon. She no longer has any regrets associated with the place. The princess places a bag of gold on the table. It's from all the years she worked as a servant. It's not much, but it's enough to use in an emergencies. Greta will probably never return to the capital of Leonia, but the lady sincerely hopes that she will be able to find her happiness.